Hello and welcome to the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. We're at the Milwaukee Mile for Busch Series racing. Series invades Beertown, USA, Milwaukee, Wisconsin for race number 17. Welcome to the Super 8 pre-race show on FX. A little bit overcast day today. We had a few showers just before qualifying started, but those moved out of the way. Beautiful evening for racing with 70 degrees. A week ago, an amazing thing took place. The mile-and-a-half Kentucky Speedway. Denny Hamlin was on the pole. Carl Edwards started on his outside. Now transmission problems sent Edwards to the back. Fellow Cup regular Kevin Harvick was the next victim as he spun his number 21 Chevy. Then a scary moment on lap 30. Jason Leffler gets into the wall off turn 2. Jeff Fuller slams into the inside wall. And when the race resumed, it was Reed Sorensen that had problems next. That crash ended his night on lap 59 with the Cup regulars dominating the first half of the season. Busch Series rookie David Gilliland shocked the racing world as he took the lead and eventual win in only his 7th career Busch Series start. Look at the celebration.
Unbelievable. David Gilliland, not even a Busch Series regular, a part-time Busch Series driver, just shocks the racing world, shocks all the Nextel Cup regulars. Look at that emotion on his face there. This is the beginning of the rest of his life.
Look at the people that he is on this list with as far as wins in the Busch Series this year.
You see Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, such big names. Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, Casey Kane, and at the bottom, David Gilliland. That's not the last we're going to hear of David Gilliland.
What an amazing story for David Gilliland. Also an amazing story, and we've been very lucky to have Jeff Fuller on the phone with us. Now, Jeff, we looked at that crash just a moment ago. That was an extremely hard hit. First of all, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. I mean, I'm sitting here watching the race, wishing I was there, but with all things that happened last week, I'm very fortunate to be here, and I feel fine.
We're going to take a look, Jeff, right now. This is Phil Parsons at that accident. I'm sure you probably had time to look at that thing. Tell us what, if anything, you remember.
Well, he's coming into my vision right here, and he's going back up the track. The spotter said go high, but I didn't want to T-bone him in the door, so I cut the wheel left, and then he started coming down on the track like he wasn't on the brake, and it just forced me into that wall. And I'll tell you what, they need to put some safer barriers or something against that, because that thing is hard.
There we talk so much about the safety barriers, but that was one part of the racetrack that did not have any safety barriers. We can see the damage to that car right there. We're so glad we saw you wave, but I was up there doing that race, and so glad that you were able to wave and let us know that, you were awake and alert at any rate.
My son told me my hair was out of place, so I was fixing it, but that's not what I was doing.
Hey, Jeff, I think it speaks volumes for what NASCAR has done as far as safety for the seats, for the head and neck devices, that you were able to check out of the hospital the very next day.
I checked out, and then I had to have a screw put in my wrist Tuesday, and then I went to NASCAR where they're holding the car and looked at the car Wednesday, and I'll tell you what, them guys are on the game. They really are. I mean, some points may need to be a little bit stronger. Some points maybe a little bit not so rigid. The seat, ISPC did its job. All the safety equipment did its job. And like I say, I mean, that was a vicious hit right there. And everything did its job. But like I say, they're on the game, and they just want to inspect everything in there and make sure that they maybe can't do something a little bit better with the roll cages and everything else involved with the car.
Well, Jeff, we really appreciate you joining us on the phone. And remember, folks, it's an amazing thing that he only has wrist and a pinky damaged in that accident, because that was an extremely hard hit. Jeff, we wish you the fastest of recoveries. We can't wait to see you back at the racetrack.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, and thank you very much to all the fans. They've been very supportive. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff Fuller, an amazing accident that took place a week ago, but he's on his road to recovery. Let's go down to pit road and Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Rick. You know, when we look at the top 7 in the points in the NASCAR Busch Series, it's all Nextel Cup regulars. And tonight, Kevin Harvick, who has a great points lead, is going to start mid-pack. And Carl Edwards, his closest competitor, will be all the way at the back. But look right up here at the top of the field. You see the Rockwell Automation Chevy. The number 20 that Denny Hamlin drives is sitting right here at the top of the grid. And Denny's actually making sure that his seat's all right and everything's ready to go. Well, guess what? He's at the pole, right? Well, the problem is Eric Almirola qualified this car, so Hamlin will have to go to the back. I think one of the funnest things tonight here at Milwaukee is going to see if these Cup guys can get from the back to the front of the field. Krista?
Well, going back to the David versus Goliath story, you know, if you Google David Gilliland's name, 975,000 mentions come up. Now, of course, one of those is assistant marketing professor at Colorado State University who bears the same name. But needless to say, the point is David Gilliland is not just in the news, he is the news. That story, that win has completely turned the Busch Series around. Guys like Danny O'Quinn, Bernie Lamar, Mark McFarland, they now have a different mindset. Mark McFarland, I talked to him today, he said his eyes are wide open, not because he's in awe, but because he knows it can now be done. He can win a race, just like David Gilliland. David versus Goliath, it's still the story. The thing is, it's no longer fiction.
Well, here's who he has to battle, or all of the Busch regulars have to battle. Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, 372 points separate the top 2 drivers here in the field. The Cup regulars are on site. They have made the trip from California to Milwaukee. Let's see if it will be another David versus Goliath tonight. Goliath is in the facility. We'll see if David can rise to the occasion.
NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX is brought to you by new and improved Just for Men hair color, by Aqua Velva, and by Shell, made to move.
Welcome back to Milwaukee in the Super 8 pre-race show. You know, it's pretty cool to be down here at driver introduction. The guys have been going around the racetrack here in their trucks, and the fans are piling in. Earlier today, we had a little bit of precipitation here, so we wondered if the people would show up. But guess what? The skies are clearing. We don't think there'll be any chance of rain tonight. We're ready to go racing at Milwaukee.
Great crowd on hand here for this, the 17th race for the Busch Series at the Milwaukee Mile, and a very historic racetrack. And standing on that historic racetrack, Chris DeBoda.
Right, and we are joined by one of those crazy Cup drivers who did the whole fly across the country thing today, that being Kyle Busch. And I guess staying for happy hour kind of paid off for you. You guys were 5th quickest out in Sonoma. So the question is, can you win both of these races this weekend?
I don't know, we'll see. I really want to thank Dennis Setzer for giving me such a great car here, but you know, they said they were pretty good in practice, so I'm happy with that. But we'll go to the back and see what we can come out here and do, and hopefully we can have a good run tonight where it'll be a decent points night for us, and get home to Sonoma for tomorrow's Cup race. And I think we've got a really good piece out there.
And flying on that plane, what do you actually do for all that time? I mean, are you sleeping the whole time when you're coming over here to Milwaukee?
Yeah, on the way out here, I was stealing my spotter's money. We were playing some card games and stuff like that. But on the way back, it's going to be lights out.
All right, Kyle Busch, he starts 22nd. But, yeah, he's going to be going to the back, and he's going to have to work his way back up through the field, guys.
They talk about the Cup guys that are having to do double duty. Ray Dunlap, who have you caught up with?
Well, Kevin Harvick just jumped out of his truck, and how about a cross-country run for you today, baby?
Yeah, it hadn't been too bad. I went to sleep on the airplane, and Boyer stole my PlayStation and had his. He stayed up the whole trip, so he's got a little more energy than I do.
Tell me about your car out there and your car here. You've got a really good car at Sonoma, but don't know too much about this one, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know anything other than what they've told me. So I know they fought tight, and we were really loose in qualifying. So. I think that's a good thing to be free. So hopefully everything will be good. Got to thank Randy the Joy and U.S. Coast Guard for everything they've done. Everybody's done a good job these last 3 weeks. So stick to our goal, finish in the top 10, and we'll be done.
All right, that is Kevin Harvick. He'll start 18th tonight here at Milwaukee.
Now, the last 3 weeks have been unbelievable for these drivers. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Pocono to Nashville. Last week, it was Michigan to Kentucky. This week, the big daddy of them all, Sonoma, California to Milwaukee. Will the road wear on these drivers? We're going to find out shortly. The drivers finishing up autographs. Will be back for the command after this. Welcome back to the Milwaukee Mile and Super 8 pre-race show on FX. Ray had mentioned it looks as though the clouds aren't going to be a problem. We're going to be racing at the Milwaukee Mile. Now, last night on this very track, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series took center stage under the lights. It was a great bumping and banging affair. Kelly Sutton got turned around there. A very close call here for one of the officials.
Jack Sprague changed 2 tires. The official thought he was going to change 4. Started to go back around the truck. Bounced off the right front fender.
Lap 83. Kerry Earnhardt gets spun around, and look at the trucks go every which way to avoid collision. Not a problem there.
Little contact. Jack Sprague, the 60 truck on the inside, made some contact with the 12 of Joey Miller, put him into the inside wall, caused a caution flag.
Lap 60. Johnny Benson making the pass on Ron Hornaday, and that would be the eventual pass for the win.
Lap number 167, Todd Bodine had stayed out with the same tires, ended up getting lapped, and as he was just after he got lapped, he got hit by Aaron Crocker, and here comes a checkered flag.
Back-to-back wins for Michigan's Johnny Benson. He grabs his second win in the Truck Series and moves up to 3rd in the point standings. Todd Bodine with a pretty comfortable lead, but David Rudiman and Benson both chipping away at that points lead. Hello, everyone. Rick Allen alongside of last night's winner, Johnny Benson and Phil Parsons. Now, Johnny, you just came off that track from last night. What do these guys have to look forward to tonight for this race?
Well, a couple of them did get a couple laps on the track for qualifying. There's 3 or 4 of those guys with no laps. So the track should be decent. It'll get a little bit free as the night goes. This track did slick up last night. I think these guys got great cars. They're going to start at the back. I think we're all going to see a great race tonight.
And Phil, how important is it as far as track time? Now, there were some Cup guys who haven't sat in the car yet.
Yeah, I think it's so big that Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer made the effort to get here for qualifying. This race historically rewards people that qualify well. Only 4 out of the 15 previous runnings of this race has the eventual winner not qualified in the top 10. So it's very, very important to qualify here. As a matter of fact, 6 out of the last 8 times the winner came from the front row. Clint Boyer, it worked perfectly for him. He jumped in that car without 1 lap of practice and qualifies 4th. Kevin Harvick, not as good. He qualified 18th, but that's still better than starting 41st, 42nd, something like that. So it's really going to reward these guys. They're going to not have to really adjust their pit strategy to try to get track position. They're already going to have it.
So we are going to see tonight if the Cup regulars are going to be able to do the same domination that they had done prior to David Gilliland, or if we're going to see another Cup regular fall back a little bit and see a Busch regular come forward. Let's go down for tonight's invocation.
Move your hats and help me welcome the U.S. Marines Milwaukee Recruiting Station Color Guard. Today's invocation will be performed by Motor Racing Outreach's Lonnie Klaus. And our national anthem will be performed by Angela Sauter-Jazier.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful evening that you've given us to come here and enjoy this sport. We thank you for all those who've made this event possible. We ask that your hand of protection and blessing be upon this event, and we'll give you the thanks. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there? Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And the Milwaukee Mile in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, home also to Harley-Davidson as we see the Harley-Davidson drive by. It is time for life in a northern town. Welcome back to the Super 8 pre-race show on FX. Sun beginning to peek through the clouds a little bit on the horizon. That is a very good sight because earlier we had a few showers in the area just before qualifying. Those have moved out of the way. 70 degrees. And it says forecast maybe scattered thunderstorms. We don't expect that at all. We look at the Busch Series point standings through 16 races. Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer. It's a list of Cup drivers, it looks like, Phil, that are on the top of this Busch Series points chart. Easy for me to say.
Look down in 8th. You see Paul Menard, Johnny Sauter, Kenny Wallace, 8th through 10th, Busch Series regulars.
Very difficult, and Johnny, I'm going to point this to you, a very difficult mile track.
It is. The corners are not banked very much at all. I mean, it shows 9 degrees. It feels like negative on when you're on the racetrack. It's very slippery. You want to be in that bottom dark groove that's got that new asphalt. That is the best place to run tonight.
About 150 miles an hour on the straightaways here, Johnny. It only down to about 90, 95 mile an hour in the center of the corner on this very, very flat racetrack. You see our race analysis right here. Racetrack 1 mile in length, 250 laps, 250 miles. Pit road speed is 35 miles per hour, and our pit window for fuel is about 90 to 100 miles or laps.
You know, 1 mile track. And this is one of those tracks where they talk about it being a very much of a driver's track, as far as you've really got to be able to drive well to get around this track.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to run at the bottom for sure, but you still have to pass on the top depending on what type of traffic that you're dealing with.
Johnny, we saw you pass on the top last night. Don't say you have to stay on the bottom all the time.
No, every once in a while you have to go up there, but as you see at the end of the race, it shows the bottom.
You're going to need a good handling car to be able to make those passes as well. Well, let's go down for tonight's command as we go trackside to hear those famous words.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the most famous words in all of motorsports, welcome back to the microphone, the president of AT&T Wisconsin, Paul LaSchiazza.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
A beautiful sound as the engines fire up. Cars getting ready to roar out onto the Milwaukee Mile. Again, will it be David versus Goliath? Goliath is on the track tonight. Welcome to the AT&T 250 on FX. NASCAR Busch Series on the FX channel tonight. Cars all in line, getting ready to roll out onto the Milwaukee Mile. Take a look at the AT&T starting grid. The number 20 of Denny Hamlin won the pole. That was driven by Eric Almirola, so the 20 will actually go to the back of the field because of a driver change.
Along with a slew of other guys, but as you can see, Steve Wallace had such a great qualifying effort, qualified 5th. He made some contact with a wall in his second qualifying lap. He's going to have to go to the back of the pack for unapproved changes.
You had mentioned some of the drivers. J.J. Yaley, the driver of the 18, will have to go to the back. And of course, Denny Hamlin, the 60, Carl Edwards, the 5 of Kyle Busch, all of those drivers having to go to the back because someone else qualified their cars.
We caught a glimpse of the 18 of J.J. Yaley, some sort of a problem. He had a person inside the car with me. You can see right there, you see the person inside the car, and There's people working on the left side of the car. Looks like they're, Johnny.
Well, it looks like they're trying to adjust the height of the steering wheel, and guys got a hammer in there trying to knock it down. Now they're going to go in there and try to tighten it. Then they got to turn around and put the dash piece back up there to make sure that they're good to go. But they got a couple of great crew members on there working on it, and I think it'll be good to go once they get it buttoned up.
That's one of the cars that had a substitute driver. Casey Atwood did such a great job qualifying that car in the 6th position. J.J. Yaley obviously came with Denny Hamlin from Infineon Raceway at Sears Point, Sonoma, California, to run this race. Did not get here in time to qualify, so he will go to the back of the pack along with the drivers you mentioned.
Other drivers having to go to the back. Tim Crosby in the 34 had some damage in qualifying, as did Steve Wallace in the 64. So those 2 cars had to be worked on. Since this was an impound race, they were not allowed to work on them, and so they will have to go to the back to start this race.
See right there, the number 28 car, James Hilton, 71 years old.
That's an amazing fact. A 71-year-old man starting a race in the upper tier of the NASCAR series. And those are the names of the drivers having to go to the back. Busch, Yaley, Hamlin, Edwards going back because of driver changes. Crosby and Wallace go back because of unapproved changes. So as they continue to do some work on the 18 of J.J. Yaley, will slip away. When we come back, they'll roll out onto the track and we'll see the green flag.
The AT&T 250 on FX is delivered by the new AT&T and brought to you in part by Dodge, by Rust-Oleum Epoxy Shield, and by Supercuts every time.
Cars are rolling around the Milwaukee Mile for the AT&T 250 on FX. We'll ride along with a few different cars, one of those being Carl Edwards. Carl will have to start toward the back of the field, and so we will be able to see if he can maneuver his way through the field tonight.
There's Joel Kaufman, the Supercuts Dodge. 22nd, his best career finish. He's going to try to improve on that. This is his first Busch Series start here at Milwaukee.
And we're here with John Wood, who's in a backup car and did an excellent qualifying, starting 14th. Watch him, see if he can stay up there with his car, not on a track yet.
Also riding along with the AC Delco, number 2 of Clint Boyer. He'll start in the 4th position, so a lot closer to the front. Let's go down to Ray Dunlap. His thoughts before green.
Well, thank you, Rick. You know, tonight we're going to be talking about track position all night long. And when you leave pit road, you want to be the first guy going across this line right here. So who has the best advantage of that? Well, always the guy that's in pit stall number 1. And tonight that's Denny Hamlin. Why? Because his car starts on the pole. Eric Almirola, of course, qualified that. But here's the problem. Denny Hamlin is going to start in the back of the field. So when you're in the back of the field, always getting to the front is not so easy, especially at a track like Milwaukee. So it may be very, very late in this race before this very first pit stall becomes a big factor. The crew guys getting ready right here. They know pit stops are going to be a big factor tonight. We may see 4 or 5 pit stops tonight at Milwaukee. Krista?
Well, and speaking of Denny Hamlin, he just got to this track like 20 minutes ago. It's incredible. And before he got into his car, he did a little helmet exchange with former Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion Gilbert Brown. Gilbert, a very close and personal friend of the late Reggie White, who along with Denny Hamlin's car owner, Joe Gibbs, had a major hand in the Drive for Diversity program. And speaking of big, I really want to thank Gilbert Brown for lending me his shirt tonight also. And hey, you guys mentioned James Hilton, 71 years, 302 days old. He was actually finished second in points in 1966. That's the Cup points, second in the standings, the highest rookie ever to finish that. He won the Rookie of the Year title, but he is just making his second Busch start. So even though he's 71 years old, he will be carrying a rookie yellow stripe here at Milwaukee. Incredible.
Very incredible.
You know, James Hilton got his start late in his as an age in his career because he was a crew chief for former NASCAR champion Rex White. Prior to taking up driving in his first year, he finished second in points.
Cars rolling around the Milwaukee Mile. The next time by, we will see the green flag. And An amazing sight, I guess, as the cars make their way around this track. This track has been operational for over 100 years. It's the longest running track in the world.
It's amazing. I came here back for my brother to run a race back in 1967. Ray, what's going on down on pit road, buddy?
Hey, Phil, just wanted to add real quick on Denny Hamlin. He is having radio problems. Whenever he got here, as Krista said, so late, he jumped in the car and they found out he didn't have his earbuds with him. So they ran him out to him right at the last second, and they found out this radio is not working very well. Could be a communication problem tonight. We'll let you know how it goes for Hamlin, who will start at the rear of the field.
That was a neat deal with him doing the helmet exchange. I know at a fundraising event that we were at, Phil, he was buying up a lot of drivers' helmets. So I'm guessing he's got a room in his house somewhere that he's just going to put all of these helmets that he has acquired. The pace truck will make its way to pit road. That means that we are about to get underway with the AT&T 250 from the Milwaukee Mile. Palmer brings the field to the green flag.
Qualified third, but because of Denny Hamlin having to move to the back, they just moved the inside row up. That allowed him to start in the pole. He's got the lead on the backstretch.
Almost started off like he didn't go. He wanted to go, and then he kind of quit. And he was fortunate that he was able to still stay ahead of Johnny Sauter going into turn one, and was able to hold off the lead. Looks like he's got a pretty good jump right at the moment.
Guys, it's going to be so interesting to see how these fellas, and they had to go to the back, all these Nextel Cup regulars that had to go to the back, how quickly they are able to make their way to the front. In the meantime, we've got some great racing. That's the 41 of David Stremme on the inside. Always good at this racetrack, Johnny. Never been out of the top 5 in 3 starts here.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing stat there. This place is very racy, as you're going to start to see Denny Hamlin coming from the back. At least at this point, you know, he hasn't been in a car, but he's running with a little bit slower traffic, so he should be able to get a pretty good handle on his car real quick, and within about 4 or 5 laps, he's going to know what he has throughout the event.
Well, he started 41st. After the first lap, he was 31st. That time he goes by in 29th, so he's slowing down as far as picking off the cars now.
Yeah, they get a little harder as you go, don't they, Johnny?
They do. You know, as he's coming up, they will get harder and harder. But there's also a lot of 2 wide, sometimes looks like 3 wide racing. So he's going to have to just pick and choose his spot. Be patient, although he's not really trying that right at the moment. But he's gonna find out what he has. And even if he can't talk to the crew right now, they've got a great race car. They may not have to do a lot of adjustments to this car.
On his inside, we see the 60. That's Carl Edwards also having to do the same thing, work his way from the back of the field to the front. They were not here for qualifying. Their cars were qualified by other drivers. That means they were relegated to the back of the field to start.
That's the 49 of Derek Cope that Carl Edwards is trying to get by. For a moment, Denny Hamlin, the 20, was pinned behind Derek. He pulls down to the inside. That's his teammate, the 18 of J.J. Yaley. See, Denny's going to pull up in front of Derek Cope. Now he's going to follow Carl Edwards.
They said Carl's car was pretty tight, and he looks like he's, working through traffic pretty good. We got Todd Cleaver here along with Ron Hornaday. Looks like they're, just marching along there, sitting there in 8th and 9th, and looks like they're having a good run.
Ron Hornaday had such a great run last night in the truck race. Guy right in front of him, the 99 of David Ruderman, he also had a great run. He finished in the top 5. He was 5th. Ron Hornaday, the 33 car right there, was 3rd last night in the Craftsman Truck Series race.
David Ruderman also running that Craftsman Truck Series race just in front of Ron Hornaday. Now, Johnny, you used some strategy last night as far as not taking tires to move up through the field on a pit stop. Can we see that from some of these Cup guys that had to start in the back?
We may see that depending on when the caution comes, who decides to come through pit road and things of this nature. But last night we did on our second stop, decided not to put tires on, saving for the end, and we really ran not too bad. We still stayed in the top 5. A couple guys fell back when they did it. Some of the guys were able to stay up front. So really depends on the handling of the car and what they think they can get away with, and if they want to save tires to the end of this race.
Denny Hamlin able to make his way by the 77 of Bernie Lamar. That moves him up into the 26th position. Carl Edwards is 60, also able to make his way by.
It's probably going to really depend on how fast these guys come up through. We see Denny up there. He's got a great car. He's coming up through there quick. He's probably using a little bit of his tires, although he's a very smooth driver. But if he can get up there with that lead pack near the front, he's going to probably do the pit along with those lead guys up front.
These teams have 6 sets of tires when they get here to the racetrack. They have to get in back one set of tires after practice. So they will start this race for the most part, everybody with 5 sets of tires, 1 on the car, 4 in the pit. So that should be enough to run, obviously, an average of 50 laps on each set of tires. But as Johnny mentioned, it depends on how far they get up as to whether they feel like they need to do some pit strategy and maybe do 2 tires or maybe even no tires on a pit stop.
Even though they can go 90 to 100 miles on fuel, the tires seem to go pretty good up to about 75 to 80 miles. So the pit window with the gas and the tires is going to be pretty close to each other. So it shouldn't be really an issue as far as when you have to come in and pit early for tires or anything like that. It should be pretty much as a fuel stop.
Here's a good look at turns number 3 and 4 here at the Milwaukee Mile.
Statistically speaking, Phil, of the last 9 races since 1997, they have all been won from a top 10 starting position. Now, does that rule out these guys that had to go to the back?
Well, I think we have extenuating circumstances here. Yes, the Truck Series race ran their 12th event last night. It's never been won from further back than 8th. In this race, only 4 out of the 15 times we've had a Busch race here has the winner come from outside the top 10. So you would think that would preclude somebody like Kevin Harvick from winning. But actually, you know, people like Denny Hamlin is going to be credited with starting first. Even though he had to go to the back of the pack, his race result is going to be listed as starting first. So if Denny Hamlin wins this race, then it held true. The guy that qualified in the top 10 won again.
I'm not sure if that's really fair to do that for Denny, but you know, it's going to be interesting because just like that race we saw last week, we don't know who's going to win this race. It could be one of those guys that did start at the back, could be somebody from the middle, although the statistics show that it comes from the front.
Who believes in statistics? Those are there so that we can say we beat the statistics or we beat the odds.
There's a couple cars right there. The 64 of Steve Wallace and the 5 of Kyle Busch that had to move to the back of the pack. Steve Wallace had a great qualifying effort, but hit the wall on his second lap. He had to go to the back of the pack for unapproved adjustments. Kyle Busch had never sat in that car at this racetrack till he got here just before the race. They're trying to move their way through the field right now. The 64 of Steve Wallace is currently running 31st.
Out in front, he's led all 13 laps to this point. It's the 4th time Paul Menard has led in 2006, but it's the first time Paul Menard has led at the Milwaukee Mile. Paul Menard, Johnny Sauter, Clint Boyer, David Strimmy, and Kenny Wallace, your top 5. The AT&T 250 on FX is sponsored by Smooth Busch Beer and Easy Drinking Busch Light. Busch, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Busch Series, 25 years running. Paul Menard hanging on to the top spot, 17 laps into this race. Johnny Sauter about a half a second behind him. Ray Dunlap.
Just want to tell you about the number 00. Johnny Sauter is in 2nd place, right by. Let's start with Menard, I guess, because he is up front. And you know what? This is definitely the race that Paul Menard wants to win most in his career because he is from Wisconsin, Eau Claire actually, and his crew chief Dan Stillman is from Nashua. So these guys are Wisconsin boys and lots of fans in the crowd here rooting on. Now let's go back to the 00. Johnny Sauter is tight in the center and really tight coming off. Now that's going to be a big problem for him here tonight because we know for a fact that this racetrack will get tighter throughout the course of the night. That's what everybody told us last night. So Sauter may be in trouble later in the run because he's already tight. Krista?
All right, Ray, you talked about 2 Wisconsin boys. Kenny Wallace, he's not from Wisconsin, Missouri. It's still in the Midwest. He's having a great run right now. He started 7th. He is up to 6th. And, you know, last year was really kind of, he turned things around as far as Milwaukee goes. It was the first time he'd scored a top 10 in 5 races here. His best finish here was way back in '96 when he finished 4th, but he was 8th last year. Right now, Kenny is saying his car is neutral on entry. He likes it on entry, but it's tight in the middle. That is what he is talking about with his car. Kenny Wallace, number 22, currently running 6th.
Kenny's brother, Mike Wallace, in the number 1, right behind him.
Kevin Harvick has already made his way up into the 8th position. Started back in 18th, already on the move. Now what that means, he's so close to the front now, he will have good track position. He will not have to do any kind of fuel only or maybe 2 tires to try to get track position. He's already got it.
Well, they almost played a little bit of pit strategy by coming for qualifying. The other Cup drivers didn't make it here in time for qualifying, and so they had to go to the back because someone else qualified their cars. Kevin and Clint made sure they were here to qualify their cars.
Battle for 2nd place. There's Clint Boyer, the 2. You just mentioned him on the inside of this 00 of Johnny Sauter.
Sauter drifting up the racetrack. Clint Boyer getting on the gas a little bit quicker, and Clint Boyer will race Johnny Sauter across the front stretch in front of the grandstands to try to take second away.
Ray told us earlier that Johnny Sauter is complaining about being tight. He's going to be a little bit vulnerable right there, and Clint Boyer was able to pounce on him, get that second spot.
Looks like Clint's car looks like it rolls the center really good. We saw that last night in the truck race. And if you can roll that center, as you saw Johnny Sauter slide up the track, you see him, he's holding it. If you can roll through the center, you get right up underneath him, and then he pretty much has a spot as you come up off.
Roll the center. Explain that to me.
Well, it's when you go down into the corner, this track is fairly fast. It's hard on brakes. But you go down into the corner, you use the brakes, get off the brakes as soon as you can, and then just coast. You're just trying to coast through that center at a fairly good speed, obviously, but then you have to be able to pick up the gas. But when you go back to the gas, you want to be able to keep it right on the floor, all the way off the corner without going up there and brushing into the wall there.
Speeds upwards of 130 miles an hour when we get into the corner.
150 miles an hour entering the corner, down to about 90, 95 miles an hour in the center of the corner. There's a good battle for 50s right there. There's Stephen Light, the 90, a Robert Yates development driver. Right behind him, that's John Andretti in the PPC, number 10. RVs.com on the hood. And there's the 66 of Scott Wimmer. That car's been driven the last couple of weeks by Greg Biffle. He obviously is not running all the races this year, but he did do the double the last couple of weeks. He's not doing it this week. And there comes the 20 of Denny Hamlin.
He has just been marching up through the field like you can't believe, just moseying right along. But look how low he's been able to stay. If he can stay down there, the thing's going to roll through the center extremely quick. He'll be able to get underneath people anytime that he wants right there in the center, and that makes for a great race car for the rest of the night, I'm sure.
37th to 18th in just 25 laps. Ray, how about Denny Hamlin?
Well, Phil, he's real good on entry into the corner, but the problem is it's tight in the center, and it's getting worse. He said on a 1 to 10 scale right now, it's only about a 4, but he says he expects worse here shortly. Good on entry, but tight in the center. How do you fix that?
Might take a little wedge out or something like that, right, Johnny?
Well, I mean, when he says it's tight, it's not tight to a lot of guys, I can tell you that. He said being able to just run right on the line. They'll come in there and they'll just be able to maybe make a wedge adjustment. They'll do some air pressure, whatever they have time for, maybe raise the track bar. So we got a pretty good battle here for the lead.
On the right of your screen, Paul Menard just in front of the two of Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer all over the back of that Menard Chevrolet.
I really like the way that AC Delco Chevrolet looks, don't you, Jenny? Look how low he's able to keep it.
Low and quick through the center. It hurts him just a little bit here because he didn't get the run that he wanted, or he was just a little too close to the fender there.
4 cars, a little bit of a gaggle there. Kyle Busch on the inside, the 36 of Tim Sauter. Sauter, another Wisconsin native.
There's Augie Vidovich, the 4-car right behind them, and on the outside, Steve Wallace looks like he's going to try to go by Tim Sauter on the outside as Clint Boyer on the right of your screen glance to the inside of Paul Menard again. He is so good, Johnny, through the center of the corner. But you see, Paul Menard is diamonding the racetrack. That means he's letting his car slide up a little bit in the center and then turns back down to the bottom. If he ever gets that car about a car width up, then Clint Boyer's going to have his nose in there, and he's going to have to stay outside.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. You see, look how much higher he's getting. One of these times, Clint's just going to get the move on him. He's just being patient right now. I think that he knows that Paul's car is just going to keep moving up. And you'll see, the one time he thinks it's up a little too high, he's going to dive right underneath there and go for the lead.
This is for first and second. Now behind them, almost a second and a half, is Johnny Sauter in third. So actually, Clint Boyer could just sit back and follow Paul Menard around here because they're both running faster than third place.
I think he'd rather lead, though. Don't you, Johnny?
He's going to want to lead for sure, but he's going to try to do this as safe and as easy on his equipment. We're already 29 laps in, no caution. He's trying to get there, but he's trying to be smooth and just trying to make sure he's got tires for a long time.
He's probably also trying to feel his car out a little bit here because he was one of the drivers that was not here for practice. He ran 2 laps. That was qualifying, and that's all he had for feel of the car.
He knows what he's got right now. He knows right now that he's probably got the best car in the field. Although Kevin Harvick, his teammate, you see Clint again on the inside, just hugging the yellow line, the curb. He's going to get side by side off of turn number 4 with Paul Menard for the lead. Clint Boyer.
Clint Boyer with the nose just in front of the 11. That will make Clint Boyer the leader as they go across the start-finish line, and the AC Delco moves in front of the Menard Chevrolet.
I think right now you're going to see Clint pull away from him. Once he gets past this lap traffic here, he's probably going to pull pretty quick. I mean, he's going to be looking in the mirror, make sure he's not trying to pull away too fast as far as just trying to save his equipment and save the tires. But you'll see he's going to, now that he's got open track, he's starting to pull away fairly quick here.
9th time in 2006, Clint Boyer has been in front of the field. It is the first time he has led at the Milwaukee Mile. So the AC Delco Chevrolet of Clint Boyer out in front at the Milwaukee Mile. 37 laps complete. Clint Boyer out in front of the field for the AT&T 250 on FX. He's put about a second and 7/10 between himself and Paul Menard since he got by him. Let's go a little deeper through the field with Chris Devoto.
Well, you'll remember when Clint Boyer climbed out of his car after qualifying, he said it was nerve-wracking, that he was nervous not getting any seat time at the track this weekend. Well, it's working out so far so good for Clint Boyer. He is saying the car is a little bit tight in the center. That was around lap 13, so perhaps it's freeing up for him a little bit, because right now Clint Boyer is running up front, right?
Krista, Paul Menard is currently in second, and he is driving his very favorite race car in the entire stable. This is chassis number 14, and with this exact same car, he finished second at Richmond. Menard just loves this car, and it's running great tonight. Now, right behind him is the 00 of Johnny Sauter. You remember a year ago here, we only got 200 laps in because of the rain, and on that very night, Johnny Sauter led 162 laps. We know that Sauter is good at Milwaukee. Krista?
Ray, you just mentioned the number 162, minus a few of that, 100. That's how many starts, Busch starts that is, Jason Leffler is making tonight. He started 9th, he is running 4th. He has a lot of experience here. He finished second twice in the truck, second twice in his Busch starts here. Now he's looking to increase that to a top 5 at least. He would love to have a win. Meanwhile, David Stremme in that 41, he was hanging around the truck race last night. We saw him on pit road. He is enjoying the car. He said it's running pretty well. He's actually being very quiet on the radio. David Stremme not saying a whole lot right now. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick is saying quite a bit. He was complaining of 4 solid shocks. He said the car was actually hopping around quite a bit. Then he said, hey, I don't care if it is hopping because it is running really well. It is just a bit free off. It's got a little bit still of that wheel hop. Kenny Wallace, meanwhile, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He was neutral on entry, tight in the middle. But right now, his car running very well. Kenny Wallace is running right now exactly where he started, 7th. Ray?
Good run for Mike Wallace tonight. He is currently in 8th position in that number 1 car. And remember, it was back in 1994 Mike Wallace won at this track. So we know that he's one of the guys that can get the job following his brother Kenny on the track. Right behind him, Ron Hornaday, the king of restarts. And when it comes to Busch racing at this track, he's led 4 of the last 5 races. Hornaday had a good run last night in the Craftsman Truck Series. And the number 99 has moved up into 10th place. He is going, no, he's going by Hornaday there. So Rudeman moving his way to the front. He has said on the radio that he is pushing the nose and chattering the tires a little bit in that Aaron's Dream machine. So Rudeman having a little trouble in the corner, but evidently he's fast enough to get around Hornaday.
That's your top 10. Clint Boyer still in front of the field.
Yeah, we had a change for the 4th position. The 41 of David Stremme got by the 00 of Johnny Sauter. So we watch Clint Boyer, our leader. He's opened up a little bit over a 2-second lead right now over the number 11 of Paul Menard. You can see the very bright day glow green or lime green, whatever kind of color that is on Paul Menard's car. That's him right there. That's the differential between 1st and 2nd. Almost 2.5 seconds right now.
The other cars that are coming up, you know, Leffler and Stremme are moving, and you know, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are a little bit closer, and 5th together than maybe what the leader is. So we've got a pretty good race still for 2nd. A lot of great side-by-side racing here at this racetrack, and it's just a matter, you know, when that caution comes out, let these guys adjust on these cars, and the race will get tighter. So we'll see how long this green will go. I'm sure it'll go for a little bit. This track is always known for its long greens.
There's a 00 right there. That's Johnny Sauter. He's our 5th place car right left of your screen. That's the 41 of David Stremme. Used to seeing Reed Sorensen in that car. He decided to stay on the West Coast. David Stremme stepped in because he's having a substitute driver out on the West Coast, Scott Pruitt, for Chip Ganassi. So David Stremme comes to one of his very, very best racetracks. 3 starts here, 3 top 5 finishes for David Stremme.
Clint Boyer running very strong right now because he has put the 31st through 41st a lap down. That means that there are currently 30 cars on the lead lap, and Tim Sauter about to go a lap down. J.J. Yaley also about to go a lap down. That would be big news for a Cup regular if he would get passed by Clint Boyer. The AT&T 250 continuing on Fox. Light shining over the Milwaukee Mile for the AT&T 250 on FX. Clint Boyer almost 4 seconds now in front of Paul Menard. Someone checking out on the field. He has put the 28th car, Curtis Davis, a lap down. So 27 still on the lead lap.
Regan Smith, the 35 car, is next on his hit list, and then the 47 Armor All Ford of John Wood is next. Remember, John Wood is in a backup car. He had trouble in practice, lost his primary car. There's Clint Boyer right there, and there's the McDonald's Ford of Regan Smith. Would love to see a caution flag right now, and it would save his lap.
Clint Boyer running very, very strong. What an amazing feat that is to not practice a car, come in, qualify at 4th, and then really run away from the field.
Yeah, that's just a testament to the driver that they got in the team to be able to set this thing up. Knowing what Clint Boyer likes in a car, that is a huge key when you come to these tracks. So they got it pretty much perfect by the results right now. And Clint was able to jump in the car, qualify great. Now sitting there in the lead, just lapping these guys. Unbelievable how he's running.
We have to give Brandon Miller a lot of credit. He's the driver that practiced this car for a couple hours today and got it set up for Clint Boyer to be able to jump in that thing. As you see him move to the inside of the 47 of John Wood and qualify that car up in the front 2 rows, qualified 4th, and then took over the lead and is now just driving away from this field. Almost a 4-second lead right now on Paul Menard. And here's a good battle heating up for 3rd. That's the 41 of David Strimmy trying to get by the great Clips Chevrolet on the outside. And he does it. Drives by Jason Leferwood. Takes over the 3rd spot.
It's almost a guarantee that David Strimmy is going to finish in the top 3. His average in 3 starts here is 3.3. That's his average finish.
It's amazing how good he's coming off turn 4. I know that he said he's good down in the corners. Watch a lot of the truck race. Watch where guys could pass and couldn't pass. And I can see he's coming off 4. It looks like that's where he's pretty strong.
Johnny, it looks like when he gets his car turning in the center of the corner, as you talk so much about, when you get the throttle down, keeping it down, it looks like he's able to do that.
He's able to do that and still staying right down on the black, right where you need to be. Just barely scoots up in that outer groove a little bit, but enables him to put the power to the ground and just drive right up off the corner.
One of the drivers doing double duty that's made the biggest move so far in this race is the 20 of Denny Hamlin. Hamlin car was qualified on the pole, but because we did a driver change, Denny Hamlin had to start in the rear of the field. So he has moved up progressively and now has broken into the top 10.
Just this last lap has gotten by the 99 of David Ruderman, but we can use a lot of brake at this racetrack, and you're going to see a lot of the brake rotors glowing right there. You can catch a glimpse of it right there, the red right inside the wheel, Ray.
Yeah, Phil, and I think that's a little tribute back to what I was saying earlier with him being tight in the center. Makes you use those brakes just a little bit more. And Denny came on and said he feels like the brakes might be fading just a little bit. And they said, yeah, we can see that they're glowing red hot when you get to the center of the corner. There you got a good shot of it. The brakes are red hot there. Now, a lot of guys will be like that, but Hamlin has had to run through the field doing that and maybe using up a good bit of brakes here. We're at lap, what, about 57 here? So I think we're going to see pit stops coming up pretty soon. And Denny Hamlin has moved all the way up to 8th place. What a run.
Yeah, Ray, we can see the rotors glowing a little bit, but Johnny, they don't stay red. So it looks like he initially checks the speed a little bit as he enters the corner. And as you mentioned, gets off the brake, rolls through the center. So the brake rotors are not glowing red for very long.
No, but the speed here is so great that it adds a lot of surface heat real fast. That transfers into the pads and into the calipers. Now, he's not going to really have a problem. He probably needs a caution, let it cool off, do a little bit of adjustments, and that won't be a problem. His biggest problem is coming through traffic. He used a lot of brake right there at the start, so he'll probably just bump him up a little bit. And because he's just a little bit tight, he's going to ride that brake just a little longer than he wants.
Now, all of this heat that is also being put on the tires, can that cause a problem? I mean, we've heard about the bead of the tire braking.
It can, but it doesn't look like we had any tire problems, last night. And with the cool temperatures, I don't know if that'll become an issue, but it could. I mean, there is enough heat there to get the tire hot, to get the bead hot. But this is a place where you don't use a ton of camber in the right front. So I don't foresee that to be a huge issue.
Kevin Harvick started this race in the 18th position, has moved up into the top 5, currently running in 4th. Could it be another win for Kevin Harvick? Look at the 5 cars we've got going across the start-finish line.
Denny Hamlin's right in the middle of that. You see the 20. He's got his teammate a lap down car. Watch out now. 3 wide off of turn 2.
Mike Wallace on the inside. Denny Hamlin in the 20. J.J. Yaley on the outside. J.J. Yaley a lap down now.
That's a battle for position between the 1 of Mike Wallace and the 20 of Denny Hamlin. Then he actually took over the 7th spot for a moment. Mike got it back in that heavy traffic right there. There's the 99 of David Ruderman. That's our 9th place car.
There is some great racing throughout the race here, just in a different spot. See how guys are sliding up, using the racetrack. Starting to go around. I'm sure it'll be a caution.
Saw the green car got turned around. Not exactly sure who that was. The caution flag is going to come out. We'll take a look. Oh, that's the 85 of John Hayden.
Yeah, he was right behind that group. We just caught a glimpse of him right in the center of 1 and 2, get turned around there. I don't know if he had any contact. I'm not sure, but looks like he doesn't have a great deal of damage. You see a little damage to the right front corner. Maybe he got into somebody and probably tried to stay off of them, Johnny, and turned his car hard left, and around he went.
That's what it looked like he was doing. It looks like he just started to get together. He had the wheels turned. They bumped and it just pulled it back right off from underneath him. A caution, I'm sure, that is welcomed by many.
By a lot of people. Ron Hornaday, we saw running very well early, has dropped all the way to the 23rd position. John Andretti, the 10 car, was the next car to go a lap down, so this caution flag saves him.
Take another look at why our first caution has come out on lap 63.
This is going to be right in between turn 1 and 2. There went Denny Hamlin. You see him on the inside of David Ruderman. He makes a little bit of contact with Ruderman. As you mentioned, it just pulls the front end to the left and around the back end goes. Fortunately, David Green did a nice job getting around him without making any contact.
Benefactor of this caution is the 35 of Regan Smith. He will receive the Aaron's lucky dog, be able to get a lap back and make it back onto the lead lap.
That will give us 26 cars on the lead lap. Lap number 63.
I'm guessing we will see the field come down pit road now as we've completed 63 laps of racing around the Milwaukee Mile, and they've been green flag laps to this point. So quite a few changes probably also going to take place on this first stop.
You're going to see some wholesale changes definitely through this pit stops. A lot of guys complaining that they're tight. I think Harvick was the only one that we saw was complaining actually being a little bit free off the corner. So he'll be tightening his up. Everybody be loosening theirs up. And hopefully now we're going to see some pretty good racing coming up through here.
Well, it puts the race now into the crew's hands as they will try to race off of pit road, get the work done on the cars, and then get their driver back off, hopefully in a position ahead of where they came onto pit road. Let's go down to pit road and Chris Devoda.
And as they work their way down pit road, teammates Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer working very well on the track, working very well together. As Kevin Harvick brings his Chevrolet in, he is looking, you're right, to tighten it up just a bit, a possible air pressure adjustment. That's what he was calling for out on the track. Meanwhile, Clint Boyer is going 1 round up on the track bar. He is tight in the center. That is still the problem they're having as they work their way around to the left side. It's Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick. Neither of these guys were here today, and they are running very well right now, right?
Krista, if you look at the middle of your screen, you see the Menard Chevy, and I'll tell you what, a little adjustment for them. They're going down 1 pound on the left front. That'll get him just a little bit tighter on entry. He came in second place. You've got to hold on to the brake down at this end of the pit road, and it's a tight pit road to get up. And because Johnny Sauter was backing up, he had to slow down there, so he will come in second, go out about 6th.
Very, very tight pit road. We saw it last night in the truck race. We saw drivers having to back up, and they were backing up and running into each other. And same thing on pit road here. Very, very tight at Milwaukee.
These pit stalls are 25 feet, but the car happens to be about 17 feet of it, so it does make it definitely a little bit tight. But you can see, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's it's just tough. Okay, there's a problem there. One was backing up. He looked like he had a clear shot getting out. Johnny Sauter was backing up. I kind of blocked it.
Traffic jam as they tried to come off of pit road. Paul Menard's crew dejected from that stop. We'll be back to shake out the lineup on FX. Look at the Craftsman pit summary. Clint Boyer came in first, went out first. He was probably the best one on pit road. Stremme moved up a spot.
We saw Menard have trouble. He got blocked in, dropped from 2nd to 7th.
Great crowd always here at the Milwaukee Mile. The green flag comes back out. Clint Boyer did make an adjustment on his car, and that's bad news for the rest of the field.
If it worked, it's certainly bad news. I don't know how that car could be any better than it was, but Bernie Lamar actually got the jump. He was on the inside line, got the jump a little bit on Clint Boyer. Clint's going to try to make his way around him.
Kevin Harvick, we're being told, is not very happy. Krista?
Well, guys, you know, Kevin Harvick never at a loss for words. He's having some very choice words on the radio right now. They had a very bad stop. They had some trouble with the jack on the left side of the car. And to kind of sum it up, Kevin said, you know, guys, I didn't really feel like traveling 3,000 miles to look like an idiot. They're trying to get things worked out. His crew chief, Shane Wilson, said, Kevin, I promise you I'll fix it. And I paraphrased him.
Thank you. The family show. Kevin Harvick, he shouldn't feel too bad. He dropped to 8th. Now he's been able to work his way up from 18th to the top 10. I'm guessing he'll be able to do somewhat the same now after they've made some adjustments to that car.
I mean, we made mention of Bernie Lamar getting cautions out. That will allow Bernie Lamar to stay on the lead lap.
And it probably will mean that J.J. Yaley will get the free pass, which J.J. Yaley was actually the 2nd car a lap down. But as you mentioned, Bernie Lamar had such a great start, was able to get in front of our leader, Clint Boyer. He was actually on the tail end of the lead lap.
Saw for a moment the 10 of John Andretti and the 06 of Todd Cleaver involved. There you see John right there. A lot of damage to the rear of both of those cars.
So a fender bender after we were only on the track for about 4 laps of racing, green flag racing. From our last caution, we'll shake it out when we come back. Fox FX and Speed's coverage of NASCAR continues tomorrow, beginning with NASCAR Race Day on Speed, leading up to Nextel Cup Series racing on Fox, and then NASCAR Victory Lane wraps up the entire weekend on Speed. Our coverage of NASCAR continues all weekend long across the Fox networks. J.J. Yaley, the Aaron's lucky dog, and they're doing some work to the 18.
He is the lucky dog because of the caution flag that flew just a moments ago. We saw the 10 of John Andretti, the 06 of Todd Cleaver. It's just really going to be a wad down there getting in turn number 3, and see Todd Cleaver sideways first, and he makes some contact with the 10 of John Andretti, and then Augie Vidovich ran into the 35 of Regan Smith. So all 4 of those cars involved, and you see the damage to the left rear corner of the 06 3M Ford of Todd Cleaver. We usually see a lot of people doing some serious body repairs at Bristol, but look at, you've got 7 hammers on the back of that truck. Look at that big sledgehammer that they're using to beat down the deck lid on that car. They've got to get where that spoiler can see the air, or else that car would have no downforce. But it looks like they got it beat out pretty good, Johnny.
They did. I mean, when they left pit road here, I thought it didn't look too bad for all the damage that they had. But that's something that we've seen on the restarts here, getting down into the corner, especially on fresh tires. It's just real hard to get slowed down. See, a lot of guys lock up the left fronts, and then when that happens, you just slide up, bump somebody in the left rear, and you get 3 or 4 banged up in a wreck like that.
Joel Kaufman for a moment. There's John Wood. He's getting ready for the restart here. John is being shown 1 lap down in the Armor All Ford. We've got 28 cars right now on the lead lap. There's Carl Edwards right there. There's Clint Boyer, our leader, as he gets ready for this restart.
Pace truck will make its way onto pit road. It's Clint Bowyer out in front. Can anyone stay with him? We're going to find out. The green flag flies. Bowyer in front of Denny Hamlin.
We got a report that Clint Bowyer was warned by NASCAR for that most recent restart. We're not sure whether they maybe thought he went too early or too late or whatever the case may be. Bernie Lamar essentially eating down to turn number 1, so maybe he went and then stopped, and that's why Bernie got ahead of him. But nonetheless, NASCAR has warned Clint Bowyer about the restarts. That looked like a pretty good restart right there.
Sometimes those restarts are tough. You know, all you're doing is just trying to get a good restart. And if the inside guy tries to jump early or something like that, it kind of makes the outside guy look bad. So we didn't see a replay on that to see exactly what they were upset about. But the warning, you know, the warning went down to him. I'm sure he just made whatever adjustments they wanted. Looked like a pretty good restart there.
Ray Dunlap, what have you heard?
I just want to let you guys know on my end of pit road, I got about 20 cars here. Just checking in with them, I see we've got 16 or 17 of them made adjustments by raising the track bar, trying to loosen their cars up here. So as we predicted, this racetrack going to be tight. Most of the cars were tight. Now realize we went 64 laps in that first run there, so fuel load will make a big difference on these cars too. But just about everybody on my end raising the track bar.
That's some heavy traffic. There's a 33 on the inside, Ron Hornaday. There's a 64, Steve Wallace on the outside. A lot of cars. So right after the restart, that's we always talk about restarts breeding cautions. Caution breeding cautions. We saw that just a few moments ago. Still a lot of heavy traffic here.
That battle you were just talking about was for 17th.
Oh, there's some contact right there. I think that was Steve Wallace, that black car on the inside, number 64. Looked like he made some contact with the 08 of Jason White. Now Ron Hornaday is going to drive to the inside of Steve Wallace.
That's a battle for 17th. Ron Hornaday trying to take it away from Steve Wallace.
Steve got a good run off of turn number 2. He was able to keep the momentum up. Drove on back around the 33 of Ron Hornaday. Now he's looking to the outside of the 66 of Scott Wimmer.
Side by side, pretty much around this track right now.
That's one thing that's great about this track is you can get some good side-by-side racing. You can pass on the outside. Maybe Steven got a little harder than he wanted right there. But look at the run he gets coming up off the corner there.
66 of Scott Wimmer coming into play now as Wimmer running 15th in front of Wallace and Hornaday. And so those two cars look as though they're going a little bit quicker than Wimmer.
Yeah, Steve Wallace looks like he's overdriving the corner, Johnny. The last 2 corners, he's driven in too hard. That made him slide up in the center of the corner. He lost a couple of positions that he worked so hard to get.
Yeah, he's just a little too tight probably, and then sometimes it gives you that sense of feeling I can just drive this thing in there. But if you can't get that turn to be able to get that run coming off the corner, it's just really hard. As you can see, some almost side or 3-wide racing.
3-wide racing, JB.
Yeah, and then they just kind of backed off there. But this is for 3rd, 4th, 5th, right up in some good racing there.
Denny Hamlin taking the top spot from Clint Bowyer on the outside. Clint Bowyer having to check up now as Hamlin takes over the point.
It looked like Clint had almost backed off because Denny had pulled up to the outside. But when they got down to the center court, he got back in the throttle. Denny came back down to the bottom of the racetrack. They almost made contact.
Denny Hamlin now out in front of the field. He's the 3rd driver to lead around this field. Clint Bowyer, Paul Menard, the other 2.
And it only took him 80 laps to get to where he should have started.
Yeah.
Or where the car would have started.
Started in the very back, even though his car sat in the pole with Eric Almirola. As you mentioned, Johnny, 80 laps it took him to get to the lead. You think he's got a good car?
He's got a really good car, so I'm sure that they're happy with it. Whether he can talk to the guys or not, it doesn't matter. They got a pretty good hot rod.
Back in the field just a bit, the 59 of Stacy Compton just in front of Scott Wimmer in that 66. Joel Kaufman in the 12 on the 8 outside.
There's Danny O'Quinn. He's also on the lead lap. He's battling with those. The 64. There's another. There's the 90 of Stephen Light. There's Kyle Busch in the 5. Big time battle. There's J.J. Yaley. Remember, he got the lucky dog. He's back on the lead lap. He's right behind the 5 of Kyle Busch.
All for position. This is about 15th through 20th right now. This gaggle of cars.
Big time wad of cars. Another side-by-side. Clint Bowyer drives back to the inside of Denny Hamlin.
Looked like Denny's car was really good, but Clint's just run the bottom so good that he was able to just go ahead, get a good run, get back by him, and well, almost back by him. It's a great racer for the lead. You know, earlier we saw he almost had a 5-second lead. Now side by side for the lead.
I love to see him racing like this for the lead. So many times, Johnny, and we were all guilty of it. When somebody comes up and chases you down, you let them go by. But these guys are racing for the lead.
That's right, you know, but they've flown all the way across the country. They're not going to give up this lead spot. They want to race for it.
Clint Boyer on the inside in the AC Delco Chevrolet number 2. Denny Hamlin on the outside in the number 20.
Two Nextel Cup regulars battling here for the lead in Milwaukee.
Neither wanting to give it in. Boyer on the inside, Hamlin on the outside. Looks as though Clint Boyer is going to take the top spot. Now Hamlin on the inside. He's going to try to do the crossover move.
Trying to do the crossover. May be able to pull up to the quarter panel. Not quite this time. Clint's going to probably stay out a little bit wide. Give him some room. Let's see if Denny can get on the throttle and get underneath him.
This is exactly why the fans come to Milwaukee every year to see racing like this.
We see a lot of that throughout the field, but sometimes not for the lead. This is just pretty good racing. This is great to watch.
And Denny Hamlin ran his fastest lap of the race since he put tires on him about 9-10 laps ago. He ran his fastest lap of the race, and just a little bit quicker than what Clint Boyer's fastest lap of the race was.
Boyer faster around the mile that last time by, well, almost 0.2 of a second, and so Clint Boyer now comfortably out in front. He's got about a 3-car lead over Denny Hamlin. And that is widening. Now, how can that happen? Well, first of all, let's go down Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Rick. I want to talk to you just a little bit about tire wear. Now, this is the right front tire for Ron Hornaday. This is the outside of the car. This is the inside of the car. Now, here's the wear indicators. Look, they've got 2.12 thousandths right here, and as we move down, you'll see there's a little less, a little less. Wow, there's hardly any here, and there's none on the inside. And as we go around the tire, check it out. We saw cords all the way around on the inside of the right front of Ron Hornaday's car. These guys are going to have to make adjustments here. You want the wear pattern across here to be almost equal, and you want the heat to be the same across. He obviously was a lot hotter on the inside and a lot of wear, seeing cords on the inside of the right front.
Johnny, that's a little bit of excessive camber right there. Now, obviously, it's a tool. That means the tire's leaning in at the top. That's what you want to do to make these cars turn. They may have went a little bit too far with that. They need to probably free that car up a little bit, get it off that right front tire.
The minute they free it up, it'll definitely take some of the heat and the wear out of the inside of that tire.
Clint Boyer and Denny Hamlin putting a show on for the crowd here as they race side by side for about 7 laps. Now there's a little bit more room between Boyer and Hamlin. Damage to the front end of the 5 of Kyle Busch. A long road for him to come to have damage in Milwaukee. The AT&T 250 on FX continuing, but we are under our 3rd caution.
Let's see if we can take a look at what happened. There was a big wad of cars running the 5 and the 18. Watch them go down in turn number 1 there. Looked like the 59 of Stacy Compton went high. He got turned a little bit by the 66 of Scott Wimmer. Then the 5 comes along, makes some contact with the 66 of Scott Wimmer. They were all battling for about the 15th spot back. See if we can take another look at it. You see the right front brake rotor glowing on the 5. You see the 59 and the 66 make contact. The 5 of Kyle Busch tries to turn to avoid the 66, not quite able to do it.
Chris DeVota.
Not much to change on Clint Boyer's machine, just a slight air pressure adjustment. That's the plan there, saying it's still a little tight, so that's all they're going to do, 4 tires and fuel for Clint Boyer. Meanwhile, his teammate, the 21, you might be talking about a hole in the right front, not the tire, the fender, right?
For the number 11 of Paul Menard, he said they want to take a pound out of each left side tire. They will continue to do that. And as we see Denny Hamlin in the 20, they asked him, how free are you when you're going into the corner? He said about a 4.5. Hamlin will roll off as the 3rd car off of pit road.
Pretty good pit stop by Denny Hamlin right there, 16.9 seconds. There's the 18 of J.J. Yaley. There's the 11 of Paul Menard. 33 of Ron Hornaday.
Tell you who I think had a really good stop there was Carl Edwards in the number 60. He was able to get out in front of both Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick. So we'll find out how that all shakes out. Coming in, it was Clint Boyer, who has been dominating the race. It looks as though he may not have won the race off pit road. We'll find out in the back. Welcome back to the AT&T 250 on FX. Take a look at the Craftsman pit summary. Clint Boyer was leading this one coming in, came out 11th. Now we think quite a few drivers may have just done gas only.
Yeah, it's going to be a little deceiving. Augie Vidovich, I think, stayed out on the racetrack. You see Clint Boyer lost from 1st to 11th, but again, that's going to be deceiving. We only had run about 28 laps since everybody was on pit road, and only 20 laps since some of the other fellows were on pit road. So I think Mike Wallace, who had inherited the 2nd position, I think he stopped for fuel only, and then some of the other drivers behind him, David Green and people like David Stremme, maybe Danny O'Quinn, some of those other guys did some pit strategy here because they didn't have but about 15 laps of racing on their tires, Ray.
Yeah, you know what, Phil? We heard on the radio last night in the Craftsman Truck Series race that a lot of these guys made adjustments on their first pit stop, and it didn't really seem to help much. And you know what? I'm hearing the same thing down here tonight. Johnny Sauter said that he added rear brake to his car, and it really didn't make much difference at all. On the first round of pit stops, they went up 2 rounds on the track bar, and that, you know, trying to loosen him up, and it really didn't seem to help much. Other guys on the radio saying the same thing. The 11 of Paul Menard, same thing. It's very strange tonight. It seems like adjustments not helping a lot.
Augie Vidovich out in front of the field at number 4, but not for long. Mike Wallace makes the pass on the inside of the number 1, so Wallace out in front of the field.
Looked like maybe Augie had a little bit of a debris on his tires. He drove down in the corner. The car would not stick. He went way up the racetrack as we see Denny Hamlin driving by the 12 of Joel Kaufman, gets side by side with the 27 of David Green.
David Green running for position with Denny Hamlin. Joel Kaufman a lap down.
There's Carl Edwards right there, the 60 car. There's the 00 right in front of him, Johnny Sauter. There's Clint Boyer, the AC Delco Chevrolet on the outside.
Now, it could have been that Carl Edwards came in and just got fuel because he was able to move up quite a few positions. We're not sure, though, because he's still running very well on the inside of Clint Boyer.
Yeah, Carl made his way into the top 10 after his pit stop back on lap number 64. Good side-by-side battle. Look at Carl Edwards going to drive the inside of his teammate, Danny O'Quinn.
Carl Edwards trying to move to the front, being scored as they go across the start-finish line. Edwards in 8th position behind Johnny Sauter.
Kevin Harvick moved to the inside of his teammate, the 2 of Clint Boyer. That's a battle for position with the 11 of Paul Menard right behind him.
I think once Clint gets into some open air here, he's going to start to say, man, I want to get away from this 3-wide racing. He's got a good race car, just stuck back a little bit in traffic, and I think as we get going, he's going to be, you know, become the dominant car again, I believe.
Before that last caution, I wanted to ask you, those 2 cars ran side by side for like 7 laps, and then all of a sudden Clint Boyer checked out. What was the difference?
Well, I think Clint's car is probably just a little bit free maybe at the start. I know he's saying it's tight, but you know, we saw that yesterday a little bit. You get tight for about 2-3 laps, you get a little bit of heat that right front, and all of a sudden it starts to turn. And the minute that it started to turn for him, he just drove right by him.
Clint Boyer now on the inside. His teammate Kevin Harvick in the 21 just behind him. That's Joel Kaufman, a lap vehicle on the outside.
There's Johnny Sauter, the yellow freight Chevrolet, the 00. We saw him up for a moment. There's J.J. Yaler, the 18. Paul Menard, the 11. Looks like J.J., who got the lucky dog a couple cautions ago, has worked on his car, made it better. Now he's running with some real good cars.
Running in 12th position right now. So J.J. Yaler, what a difference of extremes there for being a lap down to now being battling up in front.
There's Clint Boyer on the inside, side by side with the 27 of David Green. That is a battle for position. That's a battle for the 8th spot. Kevin Harvick, the 21 Coast Guard Chevrolet, is going to come with Clint Boyer. Now he's going to slide a dime in the racetrack, right back down the bottom. See if he's going to follow his teammate, the 2 of Clint Boyer, by the 4 of Augie Vidovich. Remember, Augie stayed out there. That is a battle for position.
3 wide. J.J. Yaler tried to get on the inside of Kevin Harvick. Harvick to his outside was the 4 of Augie Vidovich. And now up front, Mike Wallace has got a mirror full of Denny Hamlin. Ray Dunlap, what's going on with J.J. Yaler?
Well, we saw him on the pits there just not too long ago, and what they did is they went to the left rear shock and opened that up a couple of clicks, and also made a big air pressure adjustment in the right front. J.J. went out, went back to the racetrack, and he says, guys, this feels like a completely different car. I can roll through the center now. It's much, much better.
Side by side for the lead. Denny Hamlin takes it on the inside.
Hamlin Hamlin wants to be out in front of this field. He takes the top spot away from Mike Wallace.
Well, what kind of a season has Denny Hamlin had? He had one full season of Busch experience under his belt. He jumped in that FedEx car last year, ran the last handful of races, got a good battle for third as we're talking about that. Jason Leffler takes over the third spot from David Strimmy in the 41, but Denny Hamlin really came into his own this year. He won the Bud Shootout at Daytona. He got his first Busch win at Mexico, followed that up with a win at Darlington, and then wins the Nextel Cup race at Pocono. What a season for Denny Hamlin.
A lot of momentum. And Johnny, I talked to you a little bit earlier about momentum. You won at Michigan, and then you won the truck race here in Milwaukee. Is Denny Hamlin feeling that momentum right now and riding the wave?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of those deals where it seems like once something starts to go right, it just keeps, snowballing, keeps going that way. But for him to have that in the Busch Series and the Cup Series, that's a pretty phenomenal deal.
We saw the same thing last year as we got a three-wide battle. That's the two of Clint Boyer on the inside. Remember last year, Carl Edwards, he went to Atlanta. He won the Busch race on Saturday for his first Busch win. Came back the next day and won the Cup race in Atlanta. And then what a terrific season he had. He won, I think, 4 Cup races and 5 Busch races last year. What a terrific 2005 for Carl Edwards. I think maybe Denny Hamlin is the Carl Edwards of 2006.
He is for sure right now. And just, he's just being smart. I mean, that's the thing for a young kid like Denny to come in this sport and drive fast is one thing, but to race smart is another. And he's done a tremendous job this year with that.
You earn the respect of your peers. I mean, you're not going to have these veterans trying to teach you a lesson if you sit back there and you race it clean and you more like act like a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes as a rookie when you're on there, you get overwhelmed with things that are going around you, and it's not like you're trying to make mistakes. You're just not really clear what's happening. And like I say, Denny Hamlin has done a tremendous job with that. Whether it's the people that's around him helping him and things of this nature, seems pretty mature for his age.
1.7 second lead over Mike Wallace now. Jason Leffler in third, David Strimmy fourth, Johnny Sauter rounds out our top 5. Just outside of the top 5, Carl Edwards in 6th, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, J.J. Yaley, and Paul Menard your top 10.
There's a shot of Steve Wallace in the 64 right there.
You can see just how easy it is to overdrive that corner. And if you're just a little bit tight, you just zoom, slide right up the track.
As Joel Kaufman, the 12 we're watching, look at a lot of smoke out of the 64 of Steve Wallace.
Yeah, I think he's just got a little bit of a fender rub there. Right when he gets hard on the brakes, front of the car dives down to the ground, and he might just have a little dent on top of the fender, which we see here in this shot, and it's just smoking the tire, just a little bit under heavy brake.
It looks like a little more so when we get down in turn number 1. Steve remains on the lead. Remember, he had such a good qualifying effort.
On his first lap.
Hit the wall on his second lap. They had to make repairs, and they had to go to the back of the pack, but he stayed on the lead lap. We're over 100 laps into this race. He's doing a good job. There's the 88 of Mark McFarland, JR Motorsports Navy Chevrolet. Right behind him, that is a battle for position.
Top running rookie right now just in front of him, Danny O'Quinn. That's a battle for bragging rights for the rookies. Danny O'Quinn and Mark McFarland running 17th and 18th.
Mark McFarland, the 88, looks to the outside of the 50 of Danny O'Quinn. See if he can make this pass. He's going to have momentum as he comes off the corner. He's going to get a little bit of a straighter shot off the corner. Danny O'Quinn's going to have a little tougher time to get the bite on the inside of the racetrack. And Mark McFarland is able to pass Danny O'Quinn. He's going to take Steve Wallace with him.
At lap 120 or 111, Denny Hamlin out in front of Jason Leffler, Mike Wallace, David Strimmy, and Clint Boyer. Jason Leffler, could he be the David versus Goliath tonight? We'll find out. The AT&T 250 on FX continuing from the Milwaukee Mile. Beautiful evening. We were a little bit worried about the weather coming into this race, but it has held off, and holding off the rest of the field is the 20 of Denny Hamlin. Let's go back through the field from the top 10. Oh, we've got a caution coming out on the racetrack. 76 Jarek Johnson And that's Bernie Lamar in the 77.
Yeah, the Kingsford Ford of the 59 of Stacy Compton got a big piece of that too. That's down in turn number 1. Bernie Lamar able to drive away, but a tremendous amount of damage to that Dollar General Chevrolet. Look how short the back end of that car is.
Yeah, you can see the tail section dragging on the racetrack right there. That'll pretty much end your day unless you get a chance to get back to the garage, try to porta power the tail section back up.
Tremendous amount of damage to that car.
Oh, and
rear spring
just gonna have to reset it up.
And there comes some more debris.
Stuff.
Gene Nee's got a lot of work to do this week.
Yeah. The Gene Nee, crew chief on that car.
Again, this is our 4th caution. We look back at how this took place.
Here we are. This is right past the start-finish line.
Well, it actually started on the front stretch there. Looked like he got clipped in his right rear and turned him. And boy, at that part of the straightaway, that makes it tough to try to avoid stuff at that speed.
Yeah, you see the 59 on the inside. Stacy Compton, Jarek Johnson, the 79. I'm sorry, 76, and the 77 of Bernie Lamar.
Safety crew still attending to Jarek Johnson in the 76.
Pit road's closed right now.
We'll be back to let you know what's taking place at the Milwaukee Mile. Bernie Lamar upset. He goes in the pits. And we're seeing the safety crews getting Jarek Johnson out of the 76. And so it looks as though he is all right. They want to put him in the ambulance, check him out, take him to the infield care center and make sure everything is okay with him. The 4th caution of the night has come out at the Milwaukee Mile. Because of this 4th caution, our Aaron's lucky dog is John Wood in the number 47. So he will get a lap back, and that will make it 29 cars on the lead lap now for this race. Let's take a recap through the first 119 laps of this race. The start problems early on. This was the 2nd caution coming out on lap 69, and a lot of damage to the 10 of John Andretti having to be beaten out. And then it was Denny Hamlin getting by Clint Boyer.
This is a tremendous battle right here. As you mentioned, 7 laps these guys ran side by side. Clint Boyer in the 2, Denny Hamlin in the 20. There's the accident that the 5 of Kyle Busch got some damage. You see the 59 Stacy Compton with some damage. This is a pit stop for Clint Boyer, the number 2 car. They had some trouble. They lost a few positions on pit road. They had a little trouble with the right rear, you see. Denny Hamlin took the lead. Here's another good battle for the lead. Denny Hamlin and Mike Wallace.
Since Denny Hamlin has passed Mike Wallace, we've been able to see only Denny Hamlin up front. And then our most recent caution coming out, 76, 77, and 59 all involved on lap 116. 5 different drivers have been up front. 10 different lead changes so far in this race as we close in on the halfway point. 4 cautions, only 16 laps of caution flag. We will be back for more green flag racing from the Milwaukee Mile. Welcome back to the Milwaukee Mile, our Supercuts trivia. Now, who was the last points leader coming into Milwaukee to win this race? Now, again, the points leader coming into this race, and then I believe they actually went on to win the championship too.
But not necessarily, but I think you're probably right. I know what it is. John, do you know?
Well, I could take a stab at it, but we'll let some of the viewers
we'll let them
think about that for a little bit.
We gave the answer away. You didn't even get a guess.
I didn't need a guess. I could have told you who it was.
What about Kevin Harvick? Does he have a shot of repeating this?
He's probably got a shot, but he's got a couple of contenders running up front. That's going to be awful hard to get around.
He's got a couple more adjustments to make, too. We're only 122 laps into this 250-lap race. We pretty much think these guys are going to pit here just momentarily. We've been 30 laps since their last pit stop in the majority of the field. So, you know, he's going to have another time to adjust here. Then we know we're going to have another pit stop. So I would not put it past Shane Wilson and his guys to make that car better and put him into contention to win this thing.
it's going to be interesting to see who does take tires, because we saw guys take already, you know, 2 sets. We're only 122 laps into this race. You can't use everything up this quick. So these pit stops will be interesting, but some guys are going to come in, probably put fuel and make the adjustment. So anyways,
see Kevin right there. He was as high as 4th early in the race. Currently running in the 7th position, the 00 of Johnny Sauter right behind him. There's a 60 of Carl Edwards right in front of him. Pit road has been closed because of the accident down in turn number 1. We'll see if NASCAR opens pit road as the pace car goes by right now. Pit road is going to remain closed right now, so we will at least be 1 more lap under caution without anyone being able to make a pit stop without a penalty of restarting this race at the tail end of the longest line. Several drivers have done that. Kyle Busch has been in repeatedly. John Andretti is continuing to make repairs to his car. And the 06 of Todd Cleaver, another one of the cars involved in the accident earlier over in turn 3 and 4, has been in a few times to make repairs.
And this is a perfect time to do that. There's nobody else on pit road. They're blowing the track, trying to get it, you know, cleaned off. They need to make some major body adjustments on those cars. So they're just going to come in, take the penalty. They're already at the end of that lead lap anyway. So it's really no penalty to them. This is just an opportunity to work on the sheet metal on their cars.
John Andretti's in again. Remember, we saw him with 42 sledgehammers on the back of his car trying to get it straightened out. They're continuing to work on the back of that car. There you are right there. Freedom Roads RV, no sledgehammers this time. They're using some bungee straps to hold the deck lid down. That probably the pins, the deck pins that hold the deck lid down are probably broken. So they're going to use some bungee straps to hold down the back of that deck lid. John has remained on the lead lap, so great work by his guys in the pits to keep him on the lead lap.
What's the penalty, though, because the pit road wasn't open when he came on? Will he lose a lap or just to the end of the longest line?
He'll have to restart to the end of the longest line, along with Kyle Busch and the 06 of Todd Cleaver, who have made repeated trips to pit road. And pit road is open, and here comes Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin leading the field down pit road to make a few adjustments. Chris Kubota.
David Stremme bringing the 41 car in. He says his car is still a little loose. It's got no side bite. He's also a little snug between 3 and 4. David Stremme just taking some fuel, and he is already down and away. Ray.
Krista, this may have been the hardest call of the year. These guys know they can't make it on fuel, but they wanted to make an adjustment. Denny Hamlin said, let's stay out. Crew chief Dave Rogers says, no, we got to pit. We can't stay out there that long without getting tires. So these guys will go to work on this race car. They get the tires on. A couple of cars have already gone by. We saw Carl Edwards made it out also, but Denny Hamlin will roll out here with fresh tires. Still think he's the car to beat.
Denny Hamlin very strong. As we were watching David Stremme's pit stop, it looked as though they were trying to make an adjustment. They had the wrench in there to make an adjustment, but they couldn't move the wrench, and then David Stremme drove off, so there was actually no adjustment made to that car.
No, he's not going to be happy about that if he doesn't have any side bite. But he was trying to reach in there, trying to make the adjustment, and the guy couldn't quite get it in the slot there to get it to turn. But the one thing he did, he got it back out of there, so he didn't leave pit road with it and you know, in the car, taking stuff out, send them to the back, you know. So that was a good move for him to make sure that he got the wrench out of there.
Very hectic pit road. Last night we saw one of the officials get run over, actually, as Jack Sprague was leaving his pit stall. And here we had a close call for the number 2 car.
That's J.J. Yaley right there, his crew laughing at some. Here's the 2 of Clint Boyer on pit road. He's changing right side tires right now. You see Kenny Wallace, the 22, drive by. He's going to come around. He's going to make left side tire change. Going to be all 4 tires for Clint Boyer, as was for his teammate, the 21 of Kevin Harvick. Watch now very closely when he leaves his pits. There he drives out of pit road right there. Watch the cars in front of him. There's the 18 of J.J. Yaley. You saw one of Danny O'Quinn's guys have to jump over the left front corner of J.J. Yaley's car as he was driving out of his pit. There's Kevin Harvick, the 21 right there. There's J.J.'s car.
Well, you saw the pit crew guys thought for sure he had him, but he just jumped over to the hood.
I'll tell you, J.J. Yaley has continued to work on his car, make it better and better and better. Remember, he got lapped. He was the Aaron's lucky dog a few cautions ago, and then he was racing with some very, very good cars. Right now, he's being shown in the 13th position as he gets ready for the restart. We're halfway right now, 125 laps.
Yeah, I held it as long as I could.
His crew.
That was all in the air right there.
His crew's talking about, hey,
Great job both sides.
that was close. Close call for us.
This will be a great shot right here.
Keep watching. Yeah, I pulled over because I felt you bump it. I was like, well, give me some room.
Whoa. What a close call right there.
That just shows you, you know, not one, how dangerous it is, but how competitive it is. Those guys didn't stop and just jump out of the way. They kept going. They just made their move around there, avoided what they needed to avoid, and then continued to get the job done.
And I want to compare this to other sports. What other sport can a team like this look at what just took place right after it took place? I mean, what about a football team? If they were able to watch the play and go, oh, I missed that block, or if I would have got this guy, how much that would help them. These guys have instant feedback as to how their pit stop went and how they can improve it.
And there's a lot of things that they look at. One, to make sure that they did the job right. Two, to make sure the adjustments that they wanted to do were done in the correct way. In case a driver decides to second guess sometimes what they did. And also just to sit there and go, hey, that was pretty close, guys. That was a pretty close call there. And the team in front of them can also come back and look at that and say, look, this was pretty close. What do we need to do to try to avoid some of those situations?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of times. I've gone to a lot of football games, and they actually fax down pictures of formations and things like that down to the field, and you can see all the defensive line and offensive line lining up on the bench to look at those pictures of the previous series.
The team's battling it out on pit road to try to get their driver out front at Milwaukee. Just back underway at the Milwaukee Mile. Tim Sauter out in front of the field. He decided not to come down pit road. Mike Wallace in the #1 behind him. Denny Hamlin moving up into third.
Good side-by-side battle right there. The 38 of Jason Leffler takes over the spot from the 41 of David Strimming.
And this is a product of guys who just took gas and guys who took tires. Like Denny Hamlin took tires, Mike Wallace got gas, and Denny just drives right around all of them.
Tim Sauter stayed out on the racetrack. Saban, he's got 2 sets of tires in the pits right now. A lot of these other fellows like Denny Hamlin only have 1 fresh set of tires left in the pits for the last 120 laps.
Yeah, we just went past the halfway point of this race. That's a long ways to go with 1 set of tires.
But I think that's okay. If you divide the remaining distance in half, that's 60 laps for each set of tires, and I think they'll be fine, don't you, Johnny?
1 set of tires will be fine to finish this race out. You can get a good 70 laps, but we did see a little bit of a view of some of the tires down there. Some of the guys looked like they had some issues, but all in all, Goodyear brought a great tire last night. Looks like a pretty good tire for tonight, too.
We saw Ron Hornaday with some serious wear on the inside of his right front tire, but that was after 64 laps. Again, if you have 1 set of tires, you divide 125 by 2, that's a little bit over 60 laps.
As you see, Jason Leffler taking over 2nd spot from Mike Wallace here. Looked like his car's handling pretty good, especially right down low.
Yeah, Jason has had a good race this entire race. He's had a good car, hasn't he, Krista?
Hey guys, Jason Leffler really has such a great car. They have made very little, if any, changes on their last 2 stops. 4 tires and fuel. He is saying it's a little free, but really good. No adjustments on either stop, lap 92 and this last caution around lap 123.
We see Clint Boyer also zipping up through here. He's gonna be right up here in a couple of laps also.
Yeah, we saw him get 4 tires along with his teammate Kevin Harvick.
Tires are huge. I mean, you know, it takes just a little bit to get heat in them, and all of a sudden they're really, really good through the center and off. And as they get running this race, whoever's got another set, provided the cautions fall right, another set is going to be good as long as those guys that didn't take tires get too far back in the field.
Denny Hamlin obviously going to be a player for the win tonight. Jason Leffler is going to throw his name into the hat as far as I could be a contender at this race. Clint Boyer has been strong this entire race.
Just ran the fastest lap that lap, 30.259. That was a good 1/10 of a second faster than our leader, Denny Hamlin. There's the 41 of David Strimming. Here comes J.J. Yaley. Remember, J.J. Yaley was a lap down, and now he's racing in the top 10.
Sometimes all you do is need a pit stop to just make that right tweak. And if you know, sometimes you can be off just a little bit, and it really hurts you. Just that little bit of adjustment, wham, there you go.
The amazing thing is J.J. Yaley has to thank Bernie Lamar. Bernie Lamar had a race start, got actually in front of the leader, and that put J.J. Yaley the first one down a lap, and then the caution came out. And so J.J. Yaley got very lucky to actually get that first lucky dog.
Yeah, but he was probably going to get the next one anyway, because he had already worked on his car and made it better. So, but here he is, already took over the 7th spot right there, and so he's able to use that track position a little bit quicker. There's a good battle for 4th right there. The 11 of Paul Menard takes over from the 1 of Mike Wallace.
Paul Menard also showing a very strong car here tonight. That means that we have now 4 Chevrolets in the top 4 spots. Hamlin, Leffler, Boyer, and Paul Menard are your top 4.
Here comes the Dodge of Mike Wallace. Had such a good run last week in Kentucky. Had a top 5 finish. First one of the year for Mike Wallace. He's only ran a handful of races here.
And Mike's doing a pretty good job here on the Molded tires, being able to at least stay still in, what's the 5th spot. That's not too bad.
He may have an extra set of tires, and the problem is right now, if we go 40, 50 laps, everyone's going to come down pit road, put tires on, and he certainly will too. Well, then he may not have enough time to put another set of tires on 20 or 30 laps later, because he will lose so much track position, because we know most of the people, like Denny Hamlin, like Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, only have one more set of tires. So I think Mike Wallace, the cautions will have to fall just exactly right for him to be able to use that last set of tires.
Nephew, Steve Wallace, just behind him. Imagining that the family reunions at the Wallace house have got to be pretty interesting.
They probably could talk around racing, I would think. There's a good battle right there. There's the 00. Johnny Sauter, the 21 of Kevin Harvick. That's a battle for 7th right now. They were just able to get by the 41 of David Strimmy and the 60 of Carl Edwards.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick looks as though he's starting to move toward the front now as we pass the halfway point. It looks as though he's getting more comfortable with that number 20.
Well, this is the very same car that he won with this year at Phoenix and at Richmond. Talked to Shane Wilson in the garage area. He said, hey, did you run the same setup? You've been so good with that car. He said, no, we actually came with a very similar setup to Phoenix, and we had to change it quite a bit. So Randy LaJoie was a substitute driver. They made quite a few changes. Obviously, Kevin Harvick's able to drive that car right into the top 10. Now he looks to the inside of Johnny Sauter, runs across the rumble strips a little bit, trying to get the 7th spot away.
Battle for 7th. Clint Boyer, or Kevin Harvick right behind Johnny Sauter.
It looks like, Harvick gets definitely a little bit better, and Johnny kept cutting him off just a little bit there, but it looks like he's got a pretty good run on him now.
Well, let's do a top 10 drop back, starting with Denny Hamlin and Ray Dunlap.
Now, this is one of Denny Hamlin's favorite cars. It's chassis 43, and they use this on the short tracks. It's always good when they go to Richmond, really good at Phoenix, tracks like that, and certainly good tonight as Hamlin started way in the back of the field and has run to the front and showed that he has the dominant car tonight. How about Clint Boyer, Krista?
Clint Boyer also very dominant. He is saying his car is just a little bit loose on that last stop. They put 4 tires on. It had 2 lap scuffs to him, so just a little bit scuffed on Clint Boyer's car. Jason Leffler, don't look for any charity from him. He is running towards the front. He is saving the charity for this Monday. That's when he will visit the Minneapolis Children's Hospital and Clinics and take part in the Great Clips Charity Golf Classic. Jason said it's one of his favorite times a year. He would like nothing better than to tell those kids a story of how he won at Milwaukee. Ray?
Good car for Paul Menard tonight, and you know what? His car just wouldn't go on the bottom on the white line, so they've asked him to try the high line. He says he likes it up there a little bit better. Put a little rear brake into that car, and it has been much better. Currently in 4th position. Now, right behind him, J.J. Yaley. We've already documented that he was down a lap. They've made big repairs to that car. Early in the race, he said it's plowing like a dump truck. Second pit stop, he said it's pushing a little. Right now, he says the car is really good. Now, for Mike Wallace in that number 1 car, he has been flirting around the top 5 all night long tonight. Currently running in 6th. Wallace hasn't really said a whole lot on the radio. We see right behind him the 21 with Harvick. Krista?
That's right. We're going to Kevin Harvick because he just passed Johnny Sauter on the track. Kevin Harvick running much quicker lap times than Johnny. He hasn't quite caught up to the lap times, though, that Mike Wallace is turning right now, but Kevin Harvick definitely more comfortable with his car. Ray?
Real good pit stops for Johnny Sauter tonight, a 13.8 and a 13.9. Both real good stops. But the problem is Sauter's car is bouncing in the center on the bumps. He says he just can't hold it real well to get through the corner as fast as he'd like. With those bumps, it slows him up a little bit in the center. Krista?
been talking a lot about the guys who are going to have tires left. One of those guys who I don't think we've mentioned is the number 60 of Carl Edwards. That's right. They took fuel only on that last stop during that caution period, just like the number 41 of David Stremme. Now, David wasn't quite as planned as Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards, his was planned all along, Ray.
Well, Krista, Ron Hornaday was running in 11th, but we get to talk about him now in our top 10 drop back because he just took that Outdoor Channel Chevrolet into the 10th position. Hornaday has made adjustments on that car to try to free it up a little bit and just get better and better throughout the night. He has come from about 15th back into the top 10.
Ron Hornaday running 200 laps around the track last night and doing it very convincingly. Ran third in the Truck Series race, and now using that knowledge and the knowledge that he had from past races here to break into the top 10.
Look at this big walk right behind him. There's a 90 of Stephen Light. That's 41 of David Stremme. Remember, David Stremme took fuel only. He seems to be falling back a little bit. He restarted this race up in the top 3 or 4 positions. Now he's fallen out of the top 10, racing Stephen Light for the 12th spot.
Plus, we got to remember that David Stremme did not get that adjustment that he wanted, and this is just a result of not being able to get that side bite inside of that car.
There's the 27 of David Green, the 64 of Steve Wallace. There's Steve's uncle Kenny, the officer's own Ford right there, number 22. And there's David Ruderman, the Aaron's Dream Machine, number 99, right behind Kenny.
That's 15th, 16th, and 17th in the running order.
All these cars staying right together. There's a 50 right there at the very left of your screen for a moment. That's Daniel Quinn. He's running right behind the 99 of David Ruderman. That's the 18th spot for Daniel Quinn.
We are just completing the 150th lap. If we go to lap 151, that means we have 99 laps of racing to go. And speaking 99, Ray Dunlap.
Let's talk about that Aaron's Dream Machine. You know, I said earlier, some of these guys saying their car's not responding. The worst one on the racetrack tonight is for David Ruderman. They have raised the track bar at least 6 rounds on that car on various pit stops. It just doesn't make any difference. He chatters the tires in the center, pushing the nose. Cannot get that car freed up the way David would like it.
2 top 10s in a row for David Ruderman. Nashville and Kentucky looking for 3 in a row for Michael Waldrop Racing.
Another guy with momentum. I mean, he's been running real well in the Truck Series. The races that he's run in the Busch Series, he's run very, very well. So he's running off momentum as well. He's just trying to get that truck or that car running as well as he wants so he can get it back toward the front.
He's doing a great job for, Waldrop Racing there. He's just he's jumped in there, he's run a couple of races, and he's done a really good job.
Guys, did you see Jason Leffler just pass Clint Boyer for the 2nd spot?
He's strong. He's
That's
very
pretty
strong
impressive
tonight,
there.
yeah. Chris Devoto.
Guys, I want to talk about another car that I've been so impressed with tonight. Number 90, Stephen Light. He is running in 12th right now. He's coming off his career best finish, 10th at Kentucky last week. He's only made 6 starts in the series. He said early in the race his car was very loose, but on each continuous run it has gotten better and better. After that last stop, he said he knows, I know, guys, that we are better than a lot of the cars out there in front of us. It's showing right now. He is running 12th, a 19-year-old with only 6 Busch Series starts.
I'll tell you, Stephen Light, I was talking to Robert Yates just a few weeks ago. He's very, very high on Stephen Light. He said, we have to get him some more seat time. We know he's going to be good. We've got to get him some more races. What a terrific job he's doing. As Krista mentioned, a top 10 finish last week and knocking on the door of a top 10 right here.
Denny Hamlin out on point. Jason Leffler broke into the top 2. Now he's going to try to reel him in. He's got 2 seconds that he has to make up before he can get to the back bumper of Denny Hamlin. Beertown, USA, the side of race number 17 for the Busch Series, the AT&T 250 on FX. It's still Denny Hamlin out in front. Almost 2 seconds, a little over 2 seconds now over Jason Leffler, who's put a little bit of distance. Now Leffler's closed the gap again as Hamlin is trying to work his way around lap traffic.
Yeah, then he had some heavy traffic. Jason gained almost 3/4 of a second right there. There's Carl Edwards. Remember, he got fuel only. He's going to move over and allow the 99 of David Ruderman to go by. That drops him all the way back to 15th because he didn't change tires on that last pit stop, Krista.
something else that he's dealing with is a very loose race car. He just got on the radio and talked to his crew chief, Pierre Cattell, and he said, man, I am so loose, it doesn't matter if I'm on the brakes, on the gas, loose everywhere. They said, maybe we went down too far on their air pressure. Carl said, nah, I don't really want to mess with that. I'd much rather make a track bar adjustment. He also said on the corner entry, that's really when he feels it. He just got on the radio just now and said a half-inch, that's all he wants to do on the track bar on that next stop. And of course, get those 4 fresh tires.
Well, a half-inch is a pretty good adjustment. I mean, that's a little over 2 turns, and just that's pretty major for a track bar. So so he's definitely leading.
He restarted this race in 4th, and he's dropped all the way back to the 15th spot. There's Jason Leffler. He has caught our leader, Denny Hamlin.
The gap has been closed. Jason Leffler looking to break into the win column in 2006. His best finish this year was 6th, most recently at Atlanta.
You know, 2 weeks ago we talked about the fact that a Busch regular had not won, maybe even wasn't going to win a race this year. David Gilliland proved that wrong last week. And look at Jason Leffler. He's got by far the fastest car on the racetrack. He's all over Denny Hamlin.
And he came from over 2.5 seconds back in about 8 or 10 laps. That just shows you how good his car is right now.
Great Phillips Chevrolet making the move on the inside now of Denny Hamlin. The 38 of Jason Leffler, the 20 of Denny Hamlin, side by side as they come out of turn number 4.
Watch Jason Leffler fight that steering wheel. Hard to get grip on the bottom of the racetrack. Wasn't quite able to pull up beside Denny Hamlin. He chased him down from over 2 seconds behind. See if he can drive by on the inside right here.
It's looking pretty good. It looks like Jason's just a little bit loose. You can see that left front there working the back. But that's what's enabling him to run the center so quick. And one thing you didn't see during the truck race last night is guys would say, go ahead and have the outside if you want it. Looks like Denny's saying, go ahead and have the inside if you want it tonight.
Denny Hamlin's led 63 laps so far at the Milwaukee Mile. Right on left.
Well, guys, realize when we started this race tonight, the guys had a set of qualifying tires on their car and 4 sets of stickers. Now Leffler takes a look at Hamlin. He's going to try to go to the inside right there, and he may have to move. Well, no, he doesn't quite this time, but here's the thing. We know that everybody's going to come in for one more pit stop, and we know that Dave Rogers, the crew chief for Hamlin, has saved their very best set of stickers right here in the pits. So we know that this set on Hamlin's car may not be the best one they've had. They've got a good one sitting here in the pits. The thing that puzzles me the most is why Carl Edwards didn't change tires. Not sure what you drivers up there in the booth think about that. We know these guys have an extra set of tires to use in that next pit stop.
Well, the one thing that was surprising, I was thinking if they put tires on, they wouldn't have any for the rest of the race. Well, we were wrong on that. So if they're going to leave an extra set in the pits after this race, that doesn't make sense why they didn't put tires on.
Hey guys, I think the right front of the 5 of Kyle Busch is it body damage or is that a tire problem? Because he just shot way up high to the right.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of tape from the vinyl that they put on there to try to protect that. At first it started to look like the tire was coming apart, but the speed that he was carrying, I was like, there's no way that could be there. But at first, like that first shot that we saw, it looked like it was coming apart for sure.
Meanwhile, Jason Leffler is the new leader.
Check it out on Denny Hamlin. Jason Leffler getting in front of Denny Hamlin. Now he tries to get by Augie Vinovich. That is not a pass for position. Leffler is our new leader of the Milwaukee Mile.
Jason Leffler's got 1 career win. He won at Nashville back in 2004. I talked to him right before qualifying. He went from 9th to 16th in the points the last 3 weeks. He actually broke an inch in qualifying at Nashville, and when they started the race, they didn't even know it. When they started the race, he had no oil pump belt. He never even made the pace stop, finished dead last, and then had trouble again last week at Kentucky, finished back beyond 40th, and here he is leading this race with the fastest car on the racetrack.
Jason Leffler looking to become the 2nd Busch Series regular to win a race in the Busch Series. We take a look now at that pass that he made to take over the top spot from Denny Hamlin.
There he goes on the inside. We saw the 5 of Kyle Busch right there. Remember, he had that tape flapping. Watch the 38 of Jason Leffler. Gets such a good run through the center of the corner. Tries to slide Denny up the hill a little bit. Actually takes a little bit of racetrack away.
He didn't want to do that side-by-side racing. He's all right, let's just get this pass done. And just to show you how good of a pace and how fast of a pace He's just about ready to lap David Stremme here not too long from now. And David was running in the top 10 not too long ago.
Remember, he was one of the cars that took fuel only, tried to make an adjustment, didn't quite get it on that last caution flag, along with Carl Edwards, and he's on the verge of going a lap down.
Well, let me tell you how monumental that is. He restarted third after the last caution, third, and he is about to go a lap down now. He's 23rd and about to be lapped.
And that's barely over 40 laps. That's in 42 laps, he went from third to almost 1 lap down.
Steve Wallace in the 64.
That's Carl Edwards right behind him in the 60. Carl has dropped all the way to the 18th position. He's only about 7 or 8 seconds right now in front of our leader, Jason Leffler, and he will go a lap down.
To the victor go the spoils, and right now, if Jason Leffler can continue on the pace that he's going, he will gain back 5 positions in the points race. He will go from 16th to 11th. A good points night for Jason Leffler if he can hold on.
He's got such a great car here. Ray, what's going on down there?
Well, Phil, we saw a good battle there for the lead, but I'd like to go back in the field just a little bit, back to 5th position. We know J.J. Yaley has had such a crazy night tonight, really moving back up after being a lap down, but it may be all for naught because J.J. says he feels like right now he has a cylinder going away in that Bigelow Chevrolet. I've listened to it as he comes down into turn number 1. It doesn't sound too bad to me right now, but J.J. says he feels like they're just about to lose an engine.
Ray, he ran within a half a tenth that lap of the fastest lap anyone ran on the racetrack, so he may be down a cylinder. Here comes the 41 of David Stremme going a lap down to Jason Leffler, but J.J. Yaley is still able to maintain a good pace even if he is having a bit of a motor problem.
This is huge for David Stremme. Average finish for David Stremme at this racetrack, just over 3rd. So to be a lap down right now, really a big mountain to climb for David.
That is. And one of the things going back to J.J. Yaley, during a truck race when the speeds dropped way down, I thought the same thing too. You're sitting there, you're pushing on the gas. Come on, it's not going, it's not going. But we're seeing him run over a second and 3/4 slower on this long run than what we've seen in a, earlier run. So as they pick up speed, the engine seems to run better as opposed to running at the slower speed, especially with the gear roll.
Yeah, slower speed, definitely David Stremme. What's he talking about down there, Krista?
Well, no surprise he needs a caution bad. We talked about how on that last stop he wasn't able to make that adjustment and get that side bite that he's looking for. He said his car has literally no side bite at all. He's battling loose in and tight handling through the center. When he comes in, he wants that track bar not just to be lowered, he wants that thing dropped.
Well, the good thing for him right now, he's got about a 3-4 second cushion on the car. Actually, the next car to go a lap down is about 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Jason Leffler, our leader. So he really needs to catch a caution within the next handful of laps to be eligible for that lucky dog to come in, make an adjustment, get some tires on that car, and get back in sync.
And that next car is John Andretti, and we've seen him back his car into the fence. Those guys have did a tremendous job working on getting John Andretti's car ready, and was able to, at least keep it right now on the lead lap.
Out front, it's Jason Leffler. We know they still have to make one more pit stop at least before the end of this race. So can Jason Leffler hold on and defeat Goliath at the Milwaukee Mile? We'll find out. Now let's take a look at the Aqua Velva out of the blue moment. This is the accident on lap 69. Todd Cleaver involved with the 10, John Andretti. Here's the moment. Look at all the sledgehammers to the back of the number 10 of John Andretti.
Got every sledgehammer in the pit area working on that 10 car, and they've got him back in contention, back up. He's on the lead lap still.
Well, that is your Aqua Velva out of the blue moment. Aqua Velva keeps your face toned and fit. You know what women say, just feel it better. Aqua Velva man.
There's our leader right there, Jason Leffler. If you'll look right behind him, that's Carl Edwards. He just went a lap down. Restarted fourth on lap number 129, and here we are 55 laps later, and he gets lapped by virtue of staying out on the same set of tires. You can hear him in the center of the corner. He just about stops, doesn't he, Johnny, in the center of the corner?
He definitely gets slowed down, and when he goes to the gas, it's not very hard. You can just very tenderly touching that gas pedal, really complaining it's extremely loose. You can see him trying to move around, trying to get some grip in different spots, and he just can't do it.
Okay, he's gone a lap down. Why wouldn't he short pit? Why, he knows he's got to come in. Why wouldn't he come in right now and pit?
Well, now he might, because Steve Wallace just got lapped, so he is no longer the potential recipient of the lucky dog. And we've got the 41 car, David Stremme, on pit road. He couldn't stand it any longer.
He couldn't stand it, so maybe we'll see Carl come down here. But this pit road is very long, and you know, you just chance going 2 laps down. You know, right now you're sitting 1. You know, just hope it. Come on. We need a caution. Need a caution. You know, so it'll be difficult to see if they decide to come under the green. And hey, Ray, what do you got down for us?
Hey, Johnny, you know, one driver we haven't talked about at all tonight is Mark McFarland in that Navy number 88. I'll tell you, he's in 10th right now, and I'm really impressed with the run they've had, because his car was terrible in practice, terrible tight on the first run. They made it a little bit better on the second run. Then he was tight again. Wes Ward is helping out with this team this weekend, and they've really worked on that car a lot. You see Rudeman running up on the inside of him now with a little bit of contact right there, but I'm very impressed with Mark McFarland's run tonight. He loses 10th position right there, but good run for this guy.
It is a great run. He's had one career top 10 finish. He finished 7th earlier this year at Bristol. Here we see the 41 car of David Stremme with fresh tires. He's going to drive by a lot of these guys very, very quickly.
Now, not too long ago, Stremme was really wanting to caution. Now he does not. He wants to go ahead and just, you know, run this thing out. Try to get people in the pits, because right now he's what? He's 3 laps down? 2 laps down instead of just 1. So he can't afford to see a caution. He needs to see a bunch of these guys come in under green, and then he might benefit from this, but not, you know, not a whole lot, but he will benefit a little bit.
Right along with Joel Kaufman, that Super Guts number 12. Currently running in the 32nd position. Joel Kaufman 5 laps down.
Daniel Quinn, the 50 car, just going by him. Joel got a little bit sideways coming off turn number 4 there. Jason Leffler's opened up a little bit over a 2-second lead on Denny Hamlin right now. Clint Boyer's 3rd, Paul Menard 4th, and Kevin Harvick is in the top 5 and 5th.
It's amazing that we've seen a lot of the changes. You know, first we see Clint Boyer almost have a 4-second lead. We get a couple guys come in the pit. Denny Hamlin up to a 3-second lead. And now all of a sudden we got Jason Leffler up there at just over 2.5 seconds. I mean, it's just amazing what little bit adjustments make such a huge difference.
There's a great battle right there. You see Ron Horner, the 33 on the inside. Mark McFarland, the 88 on the outside. The 49 is Derek O'Pease, a lap car. But right behind them, the 50 of Danny O'Quinn. That they're all battling for the 10th position right there. David Rudeman was able just to get by Mark McFarland to take over the 9th spot.
Now I'm going to pose a question to both you drivers. Strategy-wise, the last pit stops took place around lap 124. If this stays green, when would you come in?
Well, I think here, you know, the guys up front are committed to going all the way until they need fuel. That's what's going to happen unless they come up with a severe vibration or some type of a tire issue that forces them in. So they're going to stay out and run that almost 100 miles. So
you're looking at almost lap 224 before we see Jason Leffler, Denny Hamlin, those guys coming in for fuel at least.
I think they'll probably go about 90 laps, and that's, you know, they don't want to take a chance of running out of fuel. If we don't get a caution flag, I think they're going to want to pit maybe around lap number 215 or something like that, and then maybe do only right side tires, because they'll only need 1 can of fuel then. What are you thinking down there, Ray?
Well, I would agree with you definitely, Phil, but one guy may not be able to do that, and that's Johnny Sauter. Remember, he won the race here a year ago, started 2nd tonight, but he has dropped back to like 19th or somewhere right now. Now, he just came on the radio and said, I've got to pit this thing, and Harold Hawley, his crew chief, said, I don't want to do it under green until we really, really have to. Let's try to hang in there and see what we can come up with. But the driver's saying, I need tires.
That's going to be pretty typical for the driver. If he's not handling good, he wants tires bad.
Do you see that car bouncing, Johnny? You know, he complained earlier about that car bouncing. We saw it going through turn number 4. That car right there, it's just bouncing all over the racetrack.
That's just a product of having extremely soft springs and extremely aggressive shocks. And this track's got some bumps getting into turn 3 and also coming off turn 2. And it definitely does bounce a lot. And when that happens, if you're a little bit tight or a little bit loose, that just aggravates that characteristics of the car.
There's John Andretti, the 10 right there. He passes him, and there's our leader, the 38 of Jason Leffler, trying to put the 0-0 a lap down. The 0-0 is not going to be any match for Jason Leffler. Jason's continuing to run some terrific laps. Johnny Sauter is really struggling right now. There's the 36 of Tim Sauter. He's already made a pit stop. You see what fresh tires will do. We know Jason Leffler is the fastest car on the racetrack, and here comes fresh tires on Tim Sauter, who was a lap down, and he just drives right by.
Yeah, that's what you got to be careful. The spotters really got to be on his ball. They're going, hey, there's a guy coming up on tires. You're leading the race. Just let him go. It'll be a long time for you to see him again.
There's Denny Hamlin right there. We caught a glimpse of him. He's in second. He's about 2 seconds behind right now. He gained about 3/4 of a second in that last lap while Jason Leffler was lapping by the lap cars.
Sometimes this is where you're going to see a caution. You get guys come in, can't hang under the cars. They come in to get tires. And with the speed difference through the center of the corners, sometimes they just get into the back of somebody. And that guy's doing all he can to hang onto his car. And just a little bit of tap will spin somebody around.
The field is really spread out. Right now, the top 10 is separated by 23 seconds. Jason Leffler out in front, and 10th right now is Mark McFarland, 23 seconds behind Jason Leffler. Well, we're clipping off laps in about 32 seconds. So they're really making up some ground on this field. Right on that.
Johnny Sauter is pitting right now, and here's the thing. If this race stays green, they may come out of this okay. If they pit right now and a yellow flag comes out, they'll really be in big trouble. You see a wedge adjustment on the right rear. They go down 2 rounds. They'll come around to do left side tires on this yellow Chevrolet. Pretty good pit stop here. No big problem. Plenty of fuel. He can go the distance.
Ray, I don't think he had any choice but to go ahead and pit. He was losing so much time. And you're right. If the race goes green for a while and all the leaders have to pit under green, then he's going to really come out of this more than likely back on the lead laps, because he will gain so much time with his fresh tires over what Jason Leffler can run and those cars on the lead lap ahead of him, that he will probably get himself back into the lead lap. But I don't think it's a situation where somebody like Jason Leffler can take a chance of pitting right now, can he, Johnny?
No, I don't think Jason can take that chance. But, you know, if 4th, 5th, 6th, and those guys start coming in, he may have to rethink that. But right now, he's going to dictate what the next top 5 is going to do.
And I'm sure right now Jason Leffler's getting a little frustrated because lapped cars are going by him. I'm sure he's saying, hey, I'm the leader of this race. Wait a second. How come people are passing me and they're a lap down? But we'll find out how long it goes before Jason Leffler has to come in for that pit stop. Here's the Holiday Inn Look Again replay. Crew of J.J. Yaley. Close call there with Daniel Quinn's team. And now, after they've done their stop, they get a replay.
Yeah, they're really talking about their pit stop right here. They're trying to see what they could do better, what they did wrong. And then watch, they're going to see that close call as he leaves. So listen. Whoa. There's Denny Hamlin, green flag pit stop. You see the chassis adjustment. Ray, what's going on down there?
They went up a half a round on the track bar, and they said, we got to get in here. And we know that the 38 just spun out on the racetrack. Yellow comes out. Oh, what will this do to Hamlin?
Well, how about our leader? It was Jason Leffler, who looked as though he was trying to come down pit road. Krista, what's going on?
You guys will not believe this. That's exactly what he was trying to do. This team was ready. They had the fuel cans up on the wall. They were ready to come in right there. He had not been running the quickest lap times. He needed those 4 fresh tires and a slight adjustment. He spins out trying to get to pit road. The team has their arms up in disbelief. They cannot believe that the leader just spun.
Guys, let's take a look at what happened here. There's Jason Leffler right there. There's John Andretti. He had just put John a lap down. Jason's going to try to get low to try to get to the pits here. He knows he's going a little too hot. He locks up the rear brakes. He makes the slightest bit of contact. Maybe didn't even touch the inside wall, but what an incredible turn of events here. We had our second place car, Denny Hamlin on pit road. Our leader trying to get to pit road and spins out trying to get slowed down. There's his crew. There's Todd Loge right there, his crew chief. They cannot believe it. Todd Braun, the car owner right there, they absolutely cannot believe it. But the good news is that Jason Leffler, obviously with that lead, he did not lose a lap. He's only fallen back just a handful of positions right now. He's being shown in the 5th spot.
So Jason Leffler, who was the leader of this race, about to come down pit road, gets spun around, brings the caution out, and only falls back to 5th.
Yeah, that actually is not going to hurt him all that bad.
At all.
But you know, it's just one of those deals. But he's trying so hard. In pit road speed, normally pit road speed starts when you're in the pits, and this one here is actually still on a racetrack, so it makes it very difficult to get slowed down. Looks like he had a lot of rear brake in it, and it just come around on him.
This looks like one of the hardest pit roads to get onto, Johnny, because you have to make a pretty hard left. Don't you, right off the racetrack to get to pit road.
Now, Denny Hamlin currently is being scored a lap down. Will he be the lucky dog?
No, the 60.
We're being told that Carl Edwards is going to be the lucky dog.
Carl Edwards was a lap down. Denny Hamlin was actually on pit road when Jason Leffler was trying to come down pit road.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin is right in front. Here we get their leaders coming down pit road. Paul Menard inherited the lead with Jason Leffler's spin.
Chris DeBoda.
Kevin Harvick just got on the radio and told his crew, come on, guys, remember Phoenix. Kevin Harvick, of course, winning at Phoenix and Richmond. That's the same car that he has here tonight. His crew is actually making the tire change on the right-hand side. They pull a tear off the windshield and work their way around to the left. Remember, they had that poor stop. They had trouble with the jack earlier tonight. That's because they were running such low air pressures. They couldn't get the jack under the car. This time, no troubles. Kevin Harvick is down and away. Ray.
The reason Paul Menard has the lead now is because they knew they could go to lap 2:11 before they needed to pit, and they wanted to stretch it as far as they could. Paul Menard will be the first guy off pit road. You saw J.J. Yaley was way back in his pit box. They make an air pressure adjustment. Menard keeps the lead.
Great pit work by Paul Menard's crew and J.J. Yaley's crew. J.J. came out second. Kevin Harvick third. Clint Bowyer fourth. And Jason Leffler fifth.
Impressive work on pit road that time. I mean, they really needed to shine, and they did.
Here as they finish up, watch their reaction right there. They know it was a good one. They know they got him the lead.
That's what I'm talking about. You see one of the guys yelling as his car goes running off of pit road.
That's the best feeling you can have, is come down pit road, got 4 fresh tires, and then come out in the lead.
And this is what the pit crews live for. That's what they practice for every day, is for a pit stop when it really matters. Whoever gets, a lot of times, whoever wins the race off pit road ends up winning the race. They just won the race off pit road with a little over 40 laps to go.
Phil, JB, who was that car we were talking about that was a lap down, got the lucky dog, and we thought, I wonder if he would ever be able to win this race? He's second.
That's just a phenomenal day for those guys. It's unbelievable. Come in, made a great stop. Kevin Harvick made a great stop. Those guys are on fresh tires. 42 laps to go. It's in a good position.
Hey, Rick, we've had the lucky dog about a couple years now or something like that. How many times do you think it's happened in the Busch Series that a driver got a lucky dog and then came back and won the race?
Well, Russell showed me the stat, so I have to tell you I know.
But I don't. What is it?
It's one.
Just one?
One time.
Justin Labonte at Chicago.
Only one time has it been done, and so J.J. Yaley could be the second.
We saw it this year to top it on. He got the lucky dog. Was it Texas?
Yeah.
And came back and won the race. So we saw it in the Truck Series just 2-3 races ago.
Take a look at our Craftsman pit summary. So important. Get off and on pit road quickly. Paul Menard has been running very strong. Top 3 car, and now he comes off pit road in the lead.
Yeah, the only switch, Kevin Harvick came in second, came out third. J.J. Yaley came in third, came out second. Otherwise, Clint Bowyer, Jason Leffler held serve fourth and fifth.
Yeah, Jason lost his spots coming to pit road, not on pit road, so he did hold his own on that part. But he's probably thinking that, man, I didn't want to see that happen, but it might not be all that bad for him, because a couple of other guys came in a couple laps earlier, would have gained a lot of time on him. So this didn't hurt him real bad, because he didn't get any damage.
What's interesting about Denny Hamlin, obviously he was on pit road when Jason Leffler spun out. He is going to restart this race at the very front of the line, but he's on the tail end of the lead lap. Ray?
You know what, Phil? It's always that gamble about coming to pit road, and we talk about it. You got to run as far in the cycle as you can, and these guys were on the radio, and what Dave Rogers had said is, it looks like you're working them brakes hard again, and he said, well, if I get new tires, I'll be fine. They hit pit road, the yellow comes out, and that's the situation you get. The reason it paid off for the 11, he was going to go to the very last lap they could before they needed fuel.
And Ray, he has the option of restarting this race. It looks like he's the leader, but he is the full racetrack behind. Same situation with Mike Wallace. There's third in line outside is our true leader, Paul Menard. Both of these guys would love to jump out in front of Paul Menard, catch a caution flag, get their lap back, and get back in contention.
And I'm sure Paul Menard is not going to go rush to try to put them a lap down. He'd like to. He'd like to try to keep them a lap down, but I don't think he's going to force it, because even if they get on the lead lap, they'll be 20th, 21st, somewhere in that area. And that's a long ways to try to come up through with only 40 laps to go.
Here we go. The number 11. Currently restarting in the third position in line is our leader. He goes to the outside on the restart. We've got 40 laps of racing to go. Paul Menard looking to win in 06.
We're getting a report from NASCAR that the 90 of Stephen Light, who had such a good run going, was penalized for pitting outside of his pit box, and that would be a lap penalty.
Ray Dunlap.
You guys saw a great restart there by Paul Menard as crew chief Dan Stillman reminded him, start easy and leave a little room in front of you. Make sure that under no circumstances do you run into anybody. So Menard lagged back a little bit to make sure those first two cars got going. Now he's going to have clean air out in front of him with just Denny Hamlin, who's on the tail end of the lead lap in front. Yellow flag.
Problems in turns 1 and 2. We see Ron Hornaday in the 33 spun around. A lot of smoke.
That puts Denny Hamlin right back on the lead lap. But Johnny, as you mentioned, he's going to restart this race about 20th. We're inside of 40 laps to go. He's out of contention to win this race. There's no way, with as good a cars are in front of him, he's going to pass all those cars. But he does have a shot to certainly improve his position.
He does, and as good as his car is, he needed that break right now. He couldn't afford to have 20 laps come off the board. We're going to see just how good he is, how good his car is, to see if he can come up through like he did earlier in the day. But if we remember right, it took him about 80 or 90 laps to get to the front.
There's a 33 of Ron Hornaday. He's already sideways. The 88 of Mark McFarland goes by on the outside. Car's going left and right. It doesn't appear as though anybody made contact. We're not sure exactly what happened to start that situation. This is Carl Edwards.
Carl Edwards.
That's Ashton Lewis right in front of Carl. Still can't quite see exactly what may have caused that situation. Carl got very, very slow there to avoid that. Carl was the lucky dog that last time, so he had to restart this race at the tail end of the longest line. Now he doesn't have to do that. He can line up right behind all the lead lap cars here, and he's going to be able to improve his position.
This time the lucky dog will go to Mike Wallace. Denny Hamlin restarted in front of Paul Menard, and Paul Menard was not able to get by Denny Hamlin, but he was able to get by Mike Wallace. So that put Mike Wallace a lap down, but only for a couple seconds, because now Mike Wallace will be our lucky dog and be able to get back on the lead lap. So it is Paul Menard, J.J. Yaley, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, and Jason Leffler, top 5. Welcome back to the AT&T 250 on FX. Green flag flies at Paul Menard, J.J. Yaley, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, and Jason Leffler.
Great start by Paul Menard. He was able to drive by all the lap cars. J.J. Yaley got hung up a little bit beside the 66 of Scott Wimmer. 35 laps to go. How big do you think this would be for Paul Menard? From Wisconsin, so many family and friends here. Had a great run last year, finished third.
His first Busch win.
First Busch win, and the second win in a row for a non-cup regular.
What would that be like to win in your home state, the first ever race in the series? What would that be like, Johnny?
Well, based off of a week ago, it's as good as you can get, I can tell you that. Because you always have a lot of family, a lot of great friends, and it's just neat to be able to do that. And, you know, then all I'd have to do is go do it again.
He's checking out on these guys.
This clean air just means a lot to any race car or truck or whatever it is you're racing. You know, you're running pretty good. And, you know, but we got J.J. Yaley and Kevin Harvick. Looks like they're moving pretty good, too. So you can't give him the win yet. You know, there's a lot of great racing to go.
Clint Boyer trying to work around the 0-0. Now, he is a lap down.
Jason Leffler right behind Clint Boyer. Remember, he had the lead. He spun out, caused the caution. There's David Green. He's right behind The 38 of Jason Leffler, we haven't talked a whole lot about him in the Kleenex corner. Oh, right behind him.
That was David Green that actually got into the 41, it looked like, of David Stremme. And so Green had problems, as you were talking about him, got into David Stremme, and this causes our 7th caution.
He got loose, Johnny, going in turn number 3. He got sideways, collected David Stremme, put David in the outside wall, brings out the caution flag. What a horrible break for David Green. But it was a situation where he got sideways on his own, made some contact. You see the damage to the rear of his car. A lot more damage to the 41 of David Stremme.
This is a time of the race that you're doing everything you can to try to get to the front. You take that little extra chance of having your car right on the edge getting into the corner, and as you see, it doesn't take much, and all of a sudden that back breaks loose, and when you try to correct it and you have a car next to you, you just make contact. And you know, you got to hate it for David Stremme and for David Green.
Take a little bit closer look at this, how this happened.
Look right at your screen. You see David ran across the rumble strips, got a little bit loose, had to chase this car up the hill. When he did, David Stremme was there. He made contact with him, turned him around, and both of those cars turned out into the outside wall.
That was a case of just, you know, some pretty hard racing. There wasn't a lot of room. They looked like they were awful tight.
Carl Edwards, we've been on board with him as he's watched quite a few accidents here as recently.
Here's Carl, center of the backstretch, going down into turn number 3. We're going to see right of your screen, we're going to see those cars head towards the outside wall. There they are right there. There was a 27 of David Green, and there's the 41 of David Stremme. David Green, the 27 car, is on pit road, as well as the 33 of Ron Hornaday.
And David Green didn't get a huge amount of damage, not like David Stremme did, but you know, but turned a good run into almost a bad night. I mean, he's going to drop back. It's going to be awful hard for him to come back up through again with that damage.
Aaron's lucky dog goes to the 00 of Johnny Sauter. Again, remember, this was last year's winner of this race. Johnny Sauter now getting the Aaron's lucky dog. Well, let's take a look at the Just for Men right on target move of the race. New and improved Just for Men hair color targets only the gray. Ain't nothing like it.
There's Paul Menard. He came in as the leader for his final pit stop. As you see, right side tires going on. They're going to move around to the left side. His DEI crew getting them up. And watch his reaction when he leaves the pits.
A lot of pressure on them boys when they come in first, knowing it's the end of the race. It's got to be a perfect stop to get back out in the lead. They were able to accomplish that.
Ray Dunlap.
Well, Johnny Sauter not very happy with his car. As you know, he was the lucky dog there, gets back on the lead lap. Now what they're going to do is they're going to raise the track bar 3 rounds. You see the adjustment tool over on the right side. They also raised the left rear wedge bolt 2 rounds. They're going to put fuel in this thing and tires for Sauter. Now he was 20th on the racetrack whenever he came in. We'll see where he lines up there, but he is back on the lead lap. Should be fun to see if this helps his car out and whether he can advance through the field, the same as we'll be watching the 20 car of Denny Hamlin.
We'll see how they advance through the field when we come back to the Milwaukee Mile, closing in on the final laps of this race. The AT&T 250 on FX about to wrap up. It's Paul Menard with just 19 laps of racing to go. 29 laps. Phil, why don't you do the math for me before I say things like that? I'm sitting there going, okay, it's 20 laps. No, it's 29.
I knew you knew what it was. I could see the wheels turning inside your head doing the math.
I just like how you hit him to make him correct himself.
You're not supposed to say that, Johnny.
When they go across the start-finish line, it looks as though the lights are going to stay on the pace truck, meaning we're going to go around again.
Yeah, they're blowing the track off. They want this track to be clean for this final 28 laps now. NASCAR is going to take a little extra time to get the track good and clean. David Green back on pit road again to make another pit stop.
Looks like the pit crews have done all they can. It's now in the hands of their drivers.
There's Paul Menard's crew right there. They're obviously looking for win number 1 for that DEI team. Talk about possibly moving up to the Cup Series altogether next year, just like Martin Truex did this year. But boy, he would sure love to win a race here in Milwaukee.
Well, I think it would help your cause if you said, well, we did pretty good in Milwaukee. We got that win in Milwaukee. Won't you move us up to the Cup Series? I think that'd be okay. Ray Dunlap.
Well, if we take a look up here to the top of the box for Paul Menard, you will see some pretty heavy hitters up there. You see his dad, John Menard, is on top of the box, rooting him on, no doubt about that. And Dave Charpentier, as they call him, Sharpie here, who's the lead engineer for this group. And then to his left, the crew chief, Dan Stillman. And as I told you earlier, Dan Stillman, of course, from Wisconsin. Well, you can't really see Dan because he's over on the left there. But Sharpie and John Menard talking about how great things are going so far tonight. Paul Menard will have, how many laps did you guys say are left?
I'll tell you, it's 28.
Come on, Johnny, help me out. Okay, thank you. 28 laps to go here. I think we get one to go this time.
Nope. They didn't do it, Ray. It's going to be 27 laps to go right now. They just passed the start-finish line. They did not give them one to go. They are continuing to blow the track. They're working on turn number 4 right now. But if I'm Paul Menard, I'm loving this. The longer we stay under caution is the shorter time I'm going to have to fight off J.J. Yaley.
One other thing that Paul Menard can accomplish, because we have enough laps for him to do it, if he's able to stay out for the remainder of the race, he will lead the most laps in this race. 27 to go. He's already led 50. That would put him at 77 laps led. Right now, Denny Hamlin has led the most laps at 64. Clint Boyer, the second most, at 56.
You know what's on his mind right now?
Winning.
Leading one more lap. And that's the last one.
He doesn't care if it leads them all, but it's that last one that's pretty big.
Field warmer, their tires up, waiting to see the one to go.
Hey, we've got John Wood, who's in a backup car, lost his car in practice due to an accident, jumped in his backup car, had a good qualifying effort. I think he qualified in the 14th position, and here he is running 6th. He's been very, very quiet. He got the lucky dog one time. He's got it. There he is right there. He's got his armor all forward, I'm sorry, up into the 6th spot. Terrific run for John Wood.
On the inside, uncharacteristic, the 5 of Kyle Busch 2 laps down. Chris Devoto, have you caught up with Shane Wilson?
I have indeed, up on the pit box with Kevin Harvick's crew chief. And Shane, have you guys got anything for these 2 cars ahead of you tonight?
Well, you know, if the thing goes green long enough, I think we stand a chance. So we just need a little bit of luck and the race to go green. It should be a good night for us.
All right, that's the strategy down here. So they just needed to go green for how many laps, guys?
It's going to be 25. I knew that question was going to come up. When they come to the start-finish line, there'll be 25 laps to go.
Shane Wilson has some experience winning here. He won with Brendan Gaughan in the Truck Series here at Milwaukee.
Ray Dunlap.
Guys, I was trying to show you Dan Stillman. You couldn't see him. You know why? Because their pit box is the most massive thing I've ever seen in my life. Look at this thing. Look at the brackets over here. We got all kinds of stuff. We got plasma screens. We've got tape decks here. We've got everything you could ever need. And the guys all up on top here, big computers and everything. I'm telling you, this Menard's pit box, this thing is a monster. So if a good pit box can help you win, Paul Menard is a shoo-in tonight.
Looks a little bit like a suite.
It's a good thing that all folds down so they can at least transport it from race to race.
Is there a racetrack where they couldn't bring this? That size of a pit box?
You just need an extra truck.
Yeah, exactly. They need an extra truck to haul it. But we're getting ready to restart this race. Going to be 25 laps to go. Can Paul Menard get win number 1?
Paul Menard looking for his first win in the NASCAR Busch Series. He will bring the field to the green flag. We're back underway at the Milwaukee Mile. Good restart for Paul Menard. Gets his preferred line.
Another great start. I mean, you got J.J. Yaley and Harvick stuck behind Stephen Wallace here. Although Stephen's running a pretty good pace right here, but they did not want to see him get between him and the leader.
Paul Menard is loving this now. Now he would like to stay green because he's got that little bit of insulation between him and the second place car. And you know Kevin Harvick's going to be all over the 18 of J.J. Yaley trying to get position number 2.
Paul Menard, clean air out in front of that number 11. Behind him, J.J. Yaley, Kevin Harvick battling for second.
Harvick looks to the inside, not quite able to do it. The 18 shuts the door on him. J.J. Yaley in second. They still have the lap car of Steve Wallace on the outside. J.J. drives to the inside. Harvick trying to go even underneath him.
It looks like Stephen Wallace is finally, just going to move up, let these guys go race. And still, though, Menard has got just a little bit quicker times, but just because these guys are in just a little bit of traffic.
J.J. Yaley in front of Kevin Harvick. Harvick looking for his 4th win of the 2006 season.
Steve Wallace is going to stay to the outside, stay out of the way. Now he's racing too. He's racing cars that are laps down, but he wants to get the best finish he can. But he is giving those guys room on the bottom of the racetrack.
Clint Boyer just behind Kevin Harvick, that number 2 AC Delco Chevrolet.
As you see, Kevin Harvick says,
problems. Look at that. Steve Wallace got way high out of the groove.
He's got a flat left rear tire. I think when Kevin went up there and hit him, I think he's a little mad that he was there. Goes up there and bangs in the side of him, takes a left rear tire right off Steve Wallace.
And it's starting to disintegrate.
Starting to come apart. NASCAR's looking at that. That may bring out the caution flag.
I believe that tire just
trouble right in front of him.
And we got problems in 3 and 4 also.
The 36 of Tim Sauter gets turned around.
As you said, Paul Menard did not want to see this caution. A nice, healthy cushion that has now just got wiped away.
He had a 2-second lead on J.J. Yaley when that caution came out. Could be a big break for Steve Wallace. He may be able to get down pit road without losing a lap.
Now
watch Kevin Harvick right here.
This could have been how Steve Wallace has problems with his left rear.
See if there he makes the contact right there. It doesn't take a whole lot. He may have knocked the valve stem out of that tire.
Yeah, the exhaust pipes stick out just a little bit there. When you go up there and bump into somebody, the body gives, but the exhaust doesn't. And all of a sudden it just blew the tire, and it's going to start coming apart down the backstretch. NASCAR's looking, but the problem comes when everybody gets just bound up just right here a little bit. Tim Sauter gets turned around. It looks like that's about the only thing that happens right there. Just a little bit of damage, not bad.
Yeah,
but the caution comes out.
The 98 of Aaron Crocker actually made contact with the 36 of Tim Sauter. Watch, here's Carl Edwards. Again, Carl's seen everything that happened on this racetrack. Watch the bottom of the racetrack. Watch right there. There's the 98 of Aaron Crocker making a slight bit of contact with the 36 of Tim Sauter, but enough to turn him around going into the corner.
It looked like all of a sudden Tim kind of switched lanes there because of the slowing car of Stephen Wallace, and Aaron was just coming in there, and just like say, just a little bit of contact, enough to get him turned around, brings a caution out. Paul Menard just going, man, not now. We didn't need that.
What's going on, Ray Dunlap?
Well, guys, the fastest car on the racetrack most of the night has been that Rockwell Automation car of Denny Hamlin, and he restarted 17th there when we had 35 laps to go. Now, I realize there's only 20 to go, but boy, he has been making progress towards the front. I think we got to keep our eye on Hamlin, who's up to 12th right now, and a couple of cars right there. Let's see, 3 of them in front of him that are still very, very tight. With Hamlin coming on hard, I think he has a shot at getting back to at least to the top 5.
I think he's going to get to the top 10, Ray. He's going to have less than 20 laps to go. I'm not sure how far up he's going to get. He's got some awfully good cars that have been running well. We've got Jason Leffler that's running 5th right now, and he was the dominant car prior to spinning out trying to get to pit road. So it's going to be a lot tougher to pass these cars as we go. But Ray, as you mentioned, he certainly has had as Denny Hamlin has had a great car tonight. He's got a good shot at getting a good top 10 finish anyway.
Yeah, like you say, we're going to keep an eye on him. But the 38 of Jason Leffler, he was the quickest there when he spun coming into the pits. He's a guy that if there's an outside shot and enough green flag laps, he's probably got the car to make this win also. Paul Menard's been quick, though. It'll be interesting to see how this is going to come right down to the line.
Well, I think we ought to just stick around and watch.
Oh, we're going to.
Let's do
we're
that.
going to. Because we know how many laps are left. It's 19 right now.
We're all over it. And we've got to thank everybody in stats downstairs, too, that give me that number so I can look at it. Read off of the screen, too. Thanks, Rich Gross. I appreciate it, buddy. 2 runners.
We'll have 21 cars on the lead lap. Stephen Light will be the Aaron's lucky dog, the 90 City Financial Ford out of Robert Yates Racing. Krista, what's going on pit road?
I just want to kind of tie things up with Stephen Wallace. You know, we talk a lot about how he's kind of, you know, young and kind of brash. Well, he may be maturing right before our eyes. He just got on the radio after that and said, the crew chief asked him, hey, you know, do you know who did that out there? And Stephen said, yeah, it was Harvick. I got a flat left rear, but you know, I would have done the same thing if I were him. Nothing more annoying than a rookie 2 laps down getting in the way. Stephen Wallace obviously having a learning weekend after that qualifying lap. Yeah, 1 lap, right, guys?
Exactly. He had a great 1 lap.
Yeah.
Second lap wasn't quite as good, but he's still done a great job. He's raced with some good cars. He's had a fast car. Again, he gave those guys room. I know they want him out of the way, Johnny. We've been in that situation where we don't care who it is, but we know he's a lap down. He could be the fastest car in the racetrack, but we just want him out of our way because we want to get to that next guy that we're racing for position.
Yeah, and the tough part is that you're up front, and it's hard to just say, well, I'm going to go to the back of the pack. It's not the easiest thing to do. You know, he was running good there for a lap or two. Then he was trying to pull out of the way just a little bit, and he did give those guys enough room. But Harvick was bad enough; he just went up and bumped him in the side. And I'm sure his goal wasn't to cut his tire down. His goal is to just say, "Look, you know, give me a little bit of room here."
We've got inside of 20 laps to go. Paul Menard going for career win #1 in the Busch Series, but he's got 3 Cup regulars right on his bumper.
Yep, it's going to be tough for Paul Menard, but he obviously is in the best position right now because he's out front. He has his own destiny in his hands. Could become the 4th first-time winner this year. That happened with Denny Hamlin at Mexico City, Kurt Busch won at Texas, and David Gilliland most recently adding his name to that list. Thank you, Russell.
I don't think we can put Paul Menard in David Gilliland's class because nobody on earth expected David Gilliland to win that race last week. Paul Menard, except David Gilliland
and maybe his dad,
Billy Wilburn, Butch Gilliland, and his dad. Exactly. But hey, we got a restart.
It'll be 17 to go when they come across the start-finish line. Paul Menard in front of J.J. Yaley, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, and Jason Leclerc.
Got another great restart. He's got the 5 just for a moment in between he and J.J. Yaley. J.J. will be able to move to the outside, but he's still got 2-3 car links. He's had great restarts.
He did. J.J. Yaley didn't quite get on the outside of Kyle Busch coming off turn 2. It kind of slowed him up a little bit. Was able to Paul Menard to get away just ever so slightly. But the thing is, J.J.'s got it. He's sitting there looking in his mirror as Kevin Harvick makes a move to the inside for 2nd place.
I think what's going to happen here, Kevin Harvick is going to make this pass, and Kevin Harvick is going to be able to reel in Paul Menard. Harvick looks very good right now. Yaley was holding him up.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick made a nice move right there to the inside of J.J. Yaley. Nobody in front of him but Paul Menard.
Kevin Harvick's got not a whole lot to lose here. He's got such a huge point lead. He's going to drag the heck out of his. Paul Menard needs to make good, consistent, no mistake laps, and that's the only thing that's going to keep him in front of Harvick at this point in time.
Good battle for 4th right there. There's Clint Boyer, the AC Delco Chevrolet, and there's Jason Leclerc. What a heartbreak this is going to be for Jason Leclerc if he's not able to win this race. But nonetheless, it's a great run for Jason Leclerc after the bad luck he's had the last 3 weeks. It's going to be a welcome top 5, but he's not going to be happy after this race.
Jason Leclerc in the great clips, number 38, just behind Clint Boyer in that AC Delco number 2. Again, Boyer holding on to the 4th position. Leclerc in 5th. Leclerc brought out our caution on lap 205, and he was leading the race at that point in time. Only relegated back to 5th with his problems, but now the gap being extended between Paul Menard and Kevin Harvick. So maybe Harvick can't catch Paul Menard right now unless a caution comes out.
Hey, Menard has had a great car. Look at Denny Hamlin going for position on the outside of Carl Edwards. Carl's hung behind the lap car of Aaron Crocker at 98. Then he's going to grab another spot. That moves Denny up into 8th position. Maybe Ray Dunlap was right. Maybe Denny's going to get all the way to the top 5. 13 laps to go.
Well, and that's also a points battle right now between between Denny Hamlin and Carl Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards was second in the points coming into this race. Denny Hamlin's trying to knock away some of those points and maybe move himself into second.
It looks like he's going to definitely gain some more points, as he just looks like he's just driving around on the outside of these cars. Some of them lap cars, some of them for position. So he's doing everything he can to try to get back up in the top 5, running 8th right now.
There's Carl Edwards right there, the 60 middle view screen. He's currently being shown in the 9th position. That's the 35 of Regan Smith right in front of him. He's down a lap. He's being shown in 23rd. Paul Menard was the fastest car on the racetrack that last lap, about a 1/10 of a second faster than Kevin Harvick. If he can keep up that pace, he's got him a win.
He's doing exactly what he needs to do. Just hit his marks, be smooth, and be smart.
Once again, he was about 8/100ths of a second faster than Kevin Harvick. Paul Menard is setting the pace right now, and he's easing away from Kevin Harvick. He's a little bit over a second and 2/10 ahead of Kevin Harvick.
The caution flag comes out now. Problems in turn 2. Looks like Stephen Light might be one of the cars, and Steve Wallace.
And it looks like Stephen Light wasn't too happy with him, so it'd be interesting to maybe get a replay and see what happened here.
But that's something Paul Menard certainly didn't want. He was coming down on 10 laps to go. At least there's not going to be a lucky dog. It's going to be a single file restart. He's not going to have a lap car to get in between himself and Kevin Harvick.
He kind of liked that luxury of having that second place car just on the outside there.
Watch his crew right there. They're not real happy with this caution flag either. Not any smiles down there in that pit yet.
Well, Kevin Harvick looked pretty strong on the short runs. He was able to work around J.J. Yaley early on in the run, and so maybe Kevin Harvick's car is a little bit better on the short runs, which would play into his hands. Paul Menard looks very strong as they get more laps on the tires.
Yeah, as we saw Paul Menard the last 2 restarts, had good restarts. So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be a great race right down to the end here.
We're being told there is going to be a lucky dog because they were coming down for 10 laps to go. So Augie Vidovich in the 4 car will be your lucky dog recipient. But that will still be a single file restart because we will restart this race with less than 10 laps to go.
That'll put 22 cars on the lead lap. So 23rd, Regan Smith will be 1 lap down. We take a look on top of Paul Menard's pit box.
The suite.
Yeah, the Paul Menard's suite on pit road. And look at all the people up there that are getting ready to celebrate.
Got people three deep on that.
Yeah.
Is that 2 or 3 stories, that pit box thing?
That's very impressive.
A very impressive drive right there for Paul Menard. He's got inside of 10 laps to go. Paul's mom right there sitting down. You know how excited she has to, how nervous she is right now. She's not even smiling.
She'll start smiling here shortly, I'm sure. But I'm guessing right now that Paul Menard is thinking, okay, what have I got to do to win this race? Well, all I have to do is hold off Kevin Harvick. Wait a minute. That might be a little bit harder than all I have to do.
But as Johnny said, he's been doing exactly what he needs to do. He's concentrating on running his line, and he's a little bit faster than Kevin Harvick. If he can continue to do that and not slip. If he slips up, if he overdrives a corner, Johnny, and slips up in the center, then Harvick's going to be there.
The turns 1 and 2 is very important on a restart because you're either going to gain or you're going to lose momentum, you know, to be able to get off turn 2 to go down that backstretch. So it's very important.
Ray Dunlap.
Hey, Rick, a little bit of coaching going on, too. Up on the top of the roof here today is Joey Meyer, who was spotting for Paul Menard, and he keeps reminding him that he was able to pull away from the group there on these last couple of restarts, and he said, don't worry about who's behind you. It's just another car. You were pulling away from him. So a little bit of coaching to try to give him that extra inspiration to stay up front there. Joey Meyer, the spotter, telling him, you got the best car. Keep it where it's at.
Yeah, I think his incentive is that checkered flag. He's going to do everything he can to stay up front for sure.
That team eagerly awaiting the restart. They all stand on the wall to enjoy the final. It's going to be 7 laps.
Paul's got a couple top 5 finishes this year. He's the only Busch regular with more than 1 top 5 finish. So he's run against these Nextel Cup regulars on a weekly basis. And here he is inside of 10 laps to go. He will have 7 laps to go when they restart this race to hold off Kevin Harvick, win number 1.
Paul Menard, some 616 points back from Kevin Harvick, and he's got Kevin Harvick right in his rearview mirror. He's probably saying, well, it's not going to be that big of a points night, but I don't even care right now. If I can beat him, if I can get the win, that'll be big.
He's not thinking anything about points right now.
Points are out of the deal. A couple of nervous people, probably more nervous than the driver.
The restart, 7 laps of racing to go. Paul Menard tries to hold off Kevin Harvick as they go through 1 and 2.
Looked like Harvick definitely tried to get on his bumper, tried to free him up.
Problem, Aaron Crocker right at the start-finish line. That will bring the caution out one more time. 10th caution of the night now.
Paul Menard is going to have to do it again. He's going to have another restart. And I think that's his most vulnerable time, Johnny, is right on the restart.
Right on the restart there, but he just learned something on that one. He's just got to apply it, do the exact same thing. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. As we see the incident here with Aaron Crocker here, they start to go. It looks like some people check up, and she just got bumped by Todd Cleaver and just turned her right in the outside wall. And this happens so fast. I mean, it doesn't. You think, well, how come they just didn't put on the brakes or something? A lot of times you just can't quite see through the vehicle in front of you, and somebody messes up in front of you, and then bam, there you go.
There you see right there her nosing in the outside wall. But you know, you're in the throttle, and all of a sudden, bam, you got to get back on the brake, and you know, it's a chain reaction. It doesn't happen to the first car that slows down, or the second one. It's usually third, fourth, or on back.
Well, that caution just tied the record for the most cautions set back in 1996. They had 59 caution laps that day. Hopefully we're not competing against that.
See Aaron Crocker in for her pit work. There's the Rockwell Automation team right there, Denny Hamlin. Denny's being shown right now in the 7th position. Got by John Wood, the 47. The last time by under green.
Yeah, it gets to us. But we pulled, hey, we pulled them on the straight.
Hear him talking.
Yeah,
about that restart.
They're going, we pulled them just a little bit on that start. And, you know, they're starting to get excited now, knowing that, hey, we beat them through 1 and 2. I think, you know, we just have to do it again. And hopefully only one more time.
When they go by this time, well, they're going to have to go another one. So we're going to be very close to 3 laps of racing when we restart this. So it will be a sprint to the finish.
NASCAR wants to make absolutely sure that the racetrack is clean. They don't want any debris left on the racetrack, and somebody run third, run through it, and cut down a tire.
Well, I want to hear a prediction out of you guys. Can Paul Menard hold on, win this race, or will Kevin Harvick get by him?
My guess is I think Paul will do it, because there's just so much right now that he wants to accomplish. And his first victory here at his hometown is one that's huge. I just went through this a week ago. You're going to do everything you can. The guy's going to have to knock you out of the way to get by you. Now, you know, he's got to be smart. He's got to get a good restart. He's got to get through 1 and 2. And I think if he's got that momentum coming off turn 2, he's going to be okay. It's still going to be a race right down to that line. But I think he's got the preferred spot right now.
I agree with Johnny. Again, the restart's critical, making sure he doesn't miss a gear, making sure he gets into turn 1 in the right position. If he beats Kevin Harvick off turn number 2, I think the race is his.
Well, it will be a sprint to the start-finish line. Chris DeVota.
Well, I just wanted to add that I agree with Johnny, and I don't even know what you guys are talking about, but he's a 2-time winner, so I agree with Johnny.
Oh, thanks, Krista. Thanks
good
a lot.
addition to that. Well, I'm going to put more merits into it because Johnny Benson's also a champion in this series. Ray Dunlap, have you got 2 cents worth?
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in because I'm going to disagree with you. I'm rooting for Paul Menard. I think it'd be great. These guys deserve a win, but it's not going to happen with Kevin Harvick back there. He is the master, and that's why he's got such an incredible lead in this series. Kevin Harvick will go to fake to the inside, probably take a look to the outside, and pass him before they get to the checker.
Well, that would be Kevin Harvick's 21st victory. So Kevin does know a little bit about winning races in the NASCAR Busch Series. Paul Menard would like to know what it feels like to make it to victory lane. And he will have about 3 laps that separate him from victory lane, and we'll find out if he can stay in front of him.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I don't think Paul Menard's got this in the bag, or it's going to be easy. But that's my pick.
Sure. He's got 3 laps to go, but the first half lap is critical. Maybe even the first quarter of a lap. Again, if he can get off turn 2 with the lead, I think he's got it. But that's going to be the hard part, is getting up through the gears, getting through turn number 1, making sure Kevin Harvick doesn't stick that nose on the inside of you, maybe bump you a little bit, get you sideways, get you out of the groove, and drive up next to you.
That's the critical part going into turn 1. That's how close Kevin will do that. I think Kevin knows that he wants to win the race, and Paul, it's his first win. He doesn't want to knock him out of the lead, but he'll take air off him and do what he has to do.
Here we go. Paul Menard, Kevin Harvick. Harvick all over the bumper. He goes to the inside right as they cross the start-finish line. 3 laps of racing to go.
He's against him. He's right against him. He's still against him. He's turned him sideways. He gets turned around.
Kevin Harvick. Harvick spins around. He had J.J. Yaley all over the back bumper. Harvick spins around, and now melee on the backstretch.
This looks like this about took out the whole top 4 or 5 of the field here, and I think what you saw there was he did exactly what I thought he wouldn't do, was try to knock him out of the way. The Yaley saw that same opportunity, went up and spun Harvick out.
There's Mark McFarland, had such a good run going.
Let's take a look at what Paul Menard's team thought when this last caution comes out. Oh boy. They knew that he had beat him out of turn 2. They were celebrating that, and then all of a sudden the caution comes out.
Wait a minute, guys. Don't look now, but guess who's running maybe 3rd? Denny Hamlin in this race.
2nd or 3rd is going to be really, really interesting here. Now, you know, I knew that Harvick was going to be on his bumper there, trying to take the air off. I really didn't think he'd start beating and hitting him and trying to knock him out of the groove. Yeah, he did a little bit of block here. You expect that with 5 to go. But here, the first one, well, he shouldn't have probably done that. The second one,
he's probably in there.
Yeah, well, underneath him,
completely underneath him. Not beside him, but completely underneath him. Exactly, and then a lot of damage there. 59 of station. There's another view. You see him get him turned completely sideways, but then that seizes him up enough that J.J. Yaley's right there, and he makes contact with the back of him, turns around Kevin Harvick, and look, these drivers couldn't see a thing.
No. That was tough. I mean, we saw J.J. taking an opportunity to maybe sneak by this whole deal too, but just gets in the back of Harvick a little bit.
Well, they slowed down, see.
They did.
When Kevin Harvick got into Paul Menard, he got him sideways, so their momentum slowed a little bit. J.J. had a run. He was in the throttle in the center of the corner. He just came up on him so fast. That wasn't a situation where watch this now. This is Clint Boyer.
No, you can see him get on the brakes hard. It just wasn't
just quick enough time. There's Clint Boyer turning around. There's Kevin Harvick right in front of him.
And see, Clint Boyer got on the brakes, got slowed down, and then got hit from behind also.
And all of this happening with 2.5 laps to go. Ray Dunlap.
Well, like I was saying, guys, I don't think Harvick has a shot at winning this race because Paul Menard is just way too strong on these restarts. And, yeah, whatever.
I'm somewhat hearing a change of tune.
I think Paul Menard has a great car, and I don't see anybody on the track that can beat him.
Whichever way the wind blows.
Yeah, okay. Hey, green-white checkered coming up here in the Busch Series.
All right.
They make one attempt at it. A lot of work being done now on the 88. Mark McFarland, they're trying to get that car, as McFarland gets out of the car, they're going to try to get that car back
feeling
into
a little,
the garage.
Little tender, holding his right wrist just a little bit.
Wrist or shoulder, something like that. Yeah, that was a pretty hard hit for Mark McFarland.
You're just trying to steer. You got your hands on the steering wheel, trying to turn it, and then getting hit and then into the wall. That's a pretty hard hit. Sometimes your hands get banged up in these deals.
There's John Menard right there, a very anxious father. Now, he's been around the sport a long time. He won a lot of IndyCar races and won a championship with Tony Stewart in the IndyCars. So he's been around racing for a long time. But even though he won an IRL championship with Tony Stewart, this may be the biggest day of his life.
You know, we've ridden with Carl Edwards to see all of these accidents. I can't imagine what it would be like to be driving this car through all these accidents.
Carl's going to get a piece of this accident right there. Watch, there the smoke is right there. It's on the outside. Ooh, Mark McFarland gets turned right into Carl Edwards. Then John Wood gets turned around right in front of Carl Edwards. He missed a lot of them, but unfortunately there was nothing he could do about that.
just sometimes the odds are stacked against you. If every one of them are in front of you eventually, and as close as he's been. Yeah. And it looked like he pretty much had that clear until somebody come up, hit Mark McFarland in the side, and then put him in the wall when he's beside him.
We have completed the scheduled distance for this race, the 250 laps, 250 miles. Now we will go a little bit further.
There's a 38 and the 20. That's Jason Leffler on the inside, Denny Hamlin on the outside. The reason they're running side by side now is they both think that they should restart this race third. NASCAR tells you if you have a dispute, just run side by side. We'll review the tape or review the loop system to see who was ahead when the caution flag was displayed. It's all electronically managed. NASCAR will look at whoever went across that last loop when the caution flag came out. That's who will get this third position. And hey, we're going to have 2 laps to go. That's a pretty big decision right there for those two guys.
Really big decision, because they're talking about third right now between Denny Hamlin and Jason Leffler, who will restart in the third position, potentially battling for second or the win.
Hey, what if J.J. Yaley gets in the back of Paul Menard just like Kevin Harvick did back there? They may be battling for the win, so they're going to stay right there until NASCAR tells them who has the third spot.
They will radio down to the team and let them know their positions.
I think you see the guys in second and third weaving and trying to get the tires cleaned as best they can. Paul needs to probably do just a little bit more of that. Make sure he gets a nice clean start.
Still doing some cleanup coming out of turn 2, and on the backstretch they have an 88 of Mark McFarland on the wrecker, and they will pull him into the garage or his truck.
We've got J.J. Yaley running second. Remember, he is the car that David Gilliland passed last week to win Kentucky. Now, he was very, very disappointed in not winning that race last week in Kentucky. He had a second place finish last year at Memphis. That was his career best going into Kentucky. He duplicated that with a second. Boy, would he love a win here.
The crew's anxiously awaiting the restart. They've been anxiously awaiting the end of this race for about the last 15 minutes.
I'm sure they didn't like that film footage down there with Harvick getting in the back of them. They were thinking, oh no, we're going to let this slip away. And then it ended up playing into not his favor. But he didn't get past for the lead, and Harvick got caught up in some, not having that another opportunity to possibly get by him.
Hey, but what a save by Paul Menard. Harvick had him turned completely sideways, and he was dirt tracking that car, saved it, and that may have saved him the win.
We can see the damage on the back of it, knowing that it's not going to hurt him right now. But you can see it wasn't just a nice light little thump. I mean, it was he was pushing on him pretty good.
Now it'll be J.J. Yaley that will restart right behind Paul Menard. 2 drivers looking for their first win in the NASCAR Busch Series. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, Dan Stillman is the crew chief here for Paul Menard. Home state win possibly coming up, a green-white checkered. Any advice for your driver?
Yeah, he's just got to get a good restart here, and I think we can hold him off. But that's the key. We just got to get a good restart here.
Okay, good luck to you. That is the crew chief, and boy, there's a lot of people on top of this pit box.
Hey, Ray, are there hors d'oeuvres up there?
Well,
or what?
Yeah, I don't know. I got to look around. Oh, man, sushi, and we got some shrimp. It's excellent.
It's the Menard Suite.
It's a party.
Hey, Ray, that's just like it is up here with sushi and all that kind of stuff.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, no. Okay.
Nice try, though.
They always accuse us of having that kind of thing up here.
That's right. Well, the jet dryer is working its way through turn number 2 right now. As they come by the start-finish line, looks as though they're going to stay for at least another lap before we get to green. So 2 laps minimum before we go back to restart. And okay, it's been a while, guys, but we need to revisit. When was the last time they came down pit road?
Well, let's see here.
220. Well,
lap 206. So
okay,
they're
we don't have any problems with fuel.
No problems with fuel whatsoever. Wow, that's assuming we get restarted here pretty quick.
That's true.
Remember, only one opportunity for a green-white checker. So, Ray?
Hey, Phil, I see the decision has been made by NASCAR. They moved Jason Leffler into 3rd position, but Denny Hamlin's in 4th. Do you think he's going to make a top 5?
I think he is, Ray. I think that was a great call by you.
Oh, I was all over
it. The top 5, yeah.
Well, that's 2 great calls by Ray Dunlap. I mean, the Kevin Harvick being able to beat. Oh, wait a minute, that one's not going to pan out.
That's right.
But this one is good.
As you see, Denny's like, I'm not sure if I agree with that call. I'm just going to stay here a little longer. But the thing is that he was behind him. The caution come out. Yeah, he probably raced a little bit through the wreck there, and they kind of go back, like I say, they go back to the next loop back, and Jason Leffler was in front of him. They did switch it on the board, and I'm sure they're telling him, but he's going to argue it until they come around to the grid.
And that's a ball and strike call. I mean, there's no gray area there. It's whoever was ahead at that last loop. So if NASCAR has made the decision that Jason Leffler has third, then it's not going to do any good for Denny Hamlin to ride beside him and question that call, because the decision's been made.
Decision's been made, and if NASCAR puts their foot down, they could say, hey, if you want to start at the back, that's fine. Either get behind him or go to the back.
Hey, remember last year, we only completed 200 laps of this race. We're maybe going to make up for those missed laps from last year this year.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about who else is up in the top 10. Stacey Compton, we saw him in that accident. He's running fifth. He emerged from that crash on the backstretch in fifth. Mike Wallace sixth. Danny O'Quinn looking for a career best finish seventh. We saw John Wood get hit by at least 2 cars. He's running eighth.
And the majority of those guys at one time were a lap down.
That's right.
Kenny Wallace in 9th. Johnny Sauter in 10th. Another Wisconsin native.
David Ruderman in the 99 and 11th. And Jay Sauter, another one of the Sauter brothers, in 12th. Good run for him so far. John Andretti in 13th.
With a wrecked race car, man, he hit that wall a ton. And he's still sitting there where's he at? 13th. Not a bad way to try to finish up the day.
All the service vehicles are now off of the racetrack, so we would assume this time by that they will let them know one more time before we get the green, and then it will be a green, white, checkered. Now, if they race and the white flag comes out and there's a caution, the race is complete.
The race is complete no matter what happens. If the caution
only
comes
one
out.
attempt at
yeah,
a green,
I mean, if they take the green flag at the start finish line and they wreck behind them, that race is going to be official. And again, to determine a finishing order, we will go to all videotape and every means possible to determine who finishes where. But right now, they've given the 1 to go signal, maybe 2 laps. Paul Menard, biggest day of his career.
And I think they'll run the full 2 laps. I don't think they'll have any issues right now. I think these guys want to get it done. The only gray area is going to be is the top 3 right there, top 4. But I don't think anybody's going to spin anybody. There might be a little bumper tag, maybe,
I wouldn't be too sure.
Well, again,
I'm confident this time.
Okay, all right.
This time, the top 2, Paul Menard, J.J. Yaley, 2 drivers that have never won in the Busch Series, looking for their first win. Ray Dunlap.
Just wanted to show you that they did review the video and look at the loops, and they have changed Leffler and Hamlin back. Hamlin will restart 3rd, Leffler in 4th.
That could be big right there. Denny Hamlin's going to restart this race in 3rd. If anything happens with the front 2, he may be in a good spot.
This is it. 2 laps of racing from the Milwaukee Mile Busch Series, 17th race of the season, and it comes down to this.
Same thing applies here. How Paul Menard gets off turn number 2. What happens between now and turn number 2 may determine who wins this race.
Paul Menard will lead the field. J.J. Yaley right behind him. Denny Hamlin, Jason Leffler, Stacey Compton, your top 5. Here we go. 2 laps of racing. J.J. Yaley looks to the inside of Paul Menard.
I'm not sure Paul Menard didn't miss a gear. Look at Denny Hamlin on the outside.
Hamlin got a little high, had to check up as they worked their way out of 2. There goes Paul Menard. He is running away from him, but here comes Denny Hamlin on the inside.
He's going to take over 2nd from his teammate J.J. Yaley. He's going to have a little bit over 1 lap to go to catch Paul Menard.
Coming out of turn number 4, it is the 11 of Paul Menard, then the 20 of Denny Hamlin. Paul Menard 1 mile away from his first win.
This is where it gets nerve-wracking. You got to make sure to hit your marks. You know you got a guy behind you that's got a fast race car. Paul knows he's got a fast race car, but he still has to hit his marks. No mistakes. He's proud to get around here and get his first victory here in Milwaukee. I'm sure he's pretty excited.
Working his way through turns 3 and 4. Coming out of turn number 4, the Wisconsin native will see the checkered flag and win the AT&T 250.
What an awesome job by the entire DEI team. Paul Menard, the Menard Chevrolet. Look at those guys. You think they're happy?
How about the fans here in Wisconsin? What a great race they saw. in the NASCAR Busch Series.
They were all on their feet cheering their hometown guy all the way across, and I know that he's got just such a great feeling. You know, I lived through this just a week ago. He's got the best feeling in the world going down that backstretch right now.
Took him 85 starts to claim his first win, but he does become the 4th different driver to claim his first win in the 2006 season. You just heard Ray Dunlap letting the guys know, hey, you got to get to victory lane.
Saw a great shot there of Denny Hamlin's crew coming over to congratulate Paul Menard's crew. There's Kevin Harvick right there.
I believe that's congratulations, right?
Well, I'm not sure. He's, you know, you can't be too mad about Harvick's one that ran into him.
Yeah. If Harvick can be mad with Boyer if he wants, I mean, with J.J. Yaley. J.J. Yaley's the one that got in the back of Kevin Harvick. But I'll tell you, I don't think so. I think Kevin Harvick knows what happened. He knows that Paul Menard was trying to win the race. Harvick did what he had to do. Paul Menard did what he had to do. It didn't work out this time for Harvick. It did for that guy.
Crowd on their feet. Paul Menard says, would you please give me that checkered flag? The first win of his career in the NASCAR Busch Series. And they'll drop it down. We'll see if Paul Menard can get a hold of that.
Oh, almost.
Good very close.
That's hard to do. That's very hard to do. I waited until somebody gave it to me, you know, or maybe he'll get it.
58 laps around this mile. Paul Menard waiting for a crew member. He'll come over and grab that flag for him. Hand it to him. He will celebrate. We're being told NASCAR said, driver the 21, we'd like to see you in the hauler after this race. So Kevin Harvick will need to talk with the officials at the conclusion of this race. Checkered flag in hand. Paul Menard will now celebrate around his home track.
It's going to be a big celebration here in the state of Wisconsin. Looks like a pretty popular victory with a crowd, too.
Let's go right down to Krista Voda. Krista.
Kevin Harvick climbing out of his car. Kevin, I know you flew a long way, traveled a long distance to get here. That is not the outcome you wanted. You got on the radio and gave your team a rally cry saying we didn't come this far to run second. Unfortunately, it's not second. It's much worse. Were you robbed of the win tonight?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I got a good restart and just got underneath him. And, you know, he did what he had to do to protect the bottom. And I got in the back of him. And somebody got in the back of me and we all just wrecked. So one of those deals, U.S. Coast Guard Chevrolet was okay. Should have never been behind him anyway. We were horrible in the pits tonight and just got behind. But good hard racing with a couple laps to go, and congratulations to him.
And did you give some congratulations to Paul? Was that a little congratulatory stop with Paul down there?
Yeah, I just wanted to let him know that thought he did a good job.
All right, that's Kevin Harvick. Never at a loss for words, always fun to watch. Kevin Harvick is going to head on to Sonoma, California, another 2,000 miles in a plane tonight.
Paul Menard would drive around this track 2,000 times, I'm guessing, with that flag in hand. Fireworks celebrating Paul Menard's first win in the NASCAR Busch Series. When we come back, we'll check him out in victory lane.
The AT&T 250 on FX is delivered by the new AT&T and brought to you in part by FreeCreditReport.com. By Holiday Inn, Look Again, and by AC Delco.
Up next on FX, it's Nip Tuck on the East Coast. For viewers on the West Coast, stay tuned for Married with Children, followed by Cold Creek Manor here on FX. Fireworks in the background and fireworks about to take place in victory lane. Ray Dunlap.
Go! Paul Menard is climbing out of his Chevrolet. It says splash on the hood, and we have got a Busch shower here. Splash on the hood, and a big splash you made today. How does it feel to finally get here after all the hard work?
I tell you what, it's a long time coming. You know, all these guys stuck behind me, and man, like I said, a long time coming. Just couldn't be happier.
You look in that mirror and you see Kevin Harvick back there, and you're just about to restart. Then what goes through your mind?
Yeah, definitely could have done without the last 2-3 restarts. We, as the tires wore down, we just got real slippery on the restarts. I kept spinning the tires, and they kept getting runs on me. And I offered up the outside, but I guess they didn't want to take it.
How about a home state victory? How good's that feel?
Yeah, man, I got you know, my crew chief Dan Stillman's from here. You know, whole family, friends, tons of people. Awesome. awesome. You know, I couldn't be happier. My dad, my mom, sister, girlfriend, everybody.
What did Kevin have to say to you?
I don't know. I'm not sure if he's congratulating me or.
He says he was.
All right, well, that's good.
All right, congratulations. His dad, John, is here, his mom, Paula, and they are about to have one big celebration. Paul Menard with his first Busch Series victory.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
Take a look at the points through 17 races. In the NASCAR Busch Series, Kevin Harvick, 344 points over. Oh, now Denny Hamlin has taken over the second spot.
Paul Menard jumps up to 6th with that win, gains 2 positions. He was 8th coming in, jumps ahead of Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle, who was not here.
So Paul Menard, big move tonight in the points, moves to 6th, and he is 532 points out of the lead. Well, I wonder if they'll take this celebration from victory lane to their pit box. Because I think they could all get up there. Next race, Daytona. They go back to Daytona for race number 18. That's Friday, June 30th, 7:30 p.m. right here on FX. A great race for Paul Menard, and a non-Cup regular has found victory lane for the second week in a row.
How about that? A lot of people didn't think that was going to happen this year. We've got 2 in a row. Big popular win here in Wisconsin for Paul Menard.
Johnny, what'd you see?
Oh, just a great race. I mean, hopefully the fans sat there and enjoyed this race all the way to the end. First win for Paul Menard. You can't ask for it to be any better. It's a neat deal for him and his family. He's going to love this week.
Great win, hometown hero here. Paul Menard winning his first race in the NASCAR Busch Series.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.